Fuck if you can't take a joke. I like that.
Yeah, fuck you if you can't take a joke.
I have a question that I've been meaning to ask someone of his caliber. So after Joe does his intro, I just want to set it up.
Okay. You came in with guns drawn, huh? All right.
Keenan with some
What's the question?
Oh, I have to wait till he does his intro, though.
Oh,
yeah.
I'll let you guys run the show, and I'll just come on whenever.
Sounds like we've already started recording.
Oh yeah, we're live on the air here.
It's pre.
Here we go. Y'all ready for this?
Yep.
Lay it on us, Joe.
Welcome one, welcome all to episode 47 of the None of Our Business podcast. We are your hosts, Philly fanatic.
Sounds like he altered his voice.
Peace style, peace steezy, sane, silent tempo, philanthropy, philosophy. We got Keenan Duncan, CNN Dunkaroos, C-section, C4.
Hey, raising the roof over
here. Hey, and I am Joe.
Just Joe.
Today we have a very special guest.
That's right.
Doesn't his voice
the
sound
man,
different?
the myth,
the legend.
Where is he?
Mark Brown. We have Mark Brown in the building. Cool. Everybody, Mark Brown, my Uncle Mark.
That's right.
Uncle Mark.
If I need to clear that up, Uncle Mark.
So I think we had the most family from Joe on the show.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I'm just
your whole family's on here.
Keenan just sounds jealous. That's what
I know. That's
just
I need to get my mom on this podcast.
You should.
No.
Why not?
Because she'll release all of my bad secrets.
Exactly.
You remember when I walked in and I saw you masturbate? I was like, Mom. It was like, that was 2 weeks ago. I was like, God dang it.
Wow. Busted.
No kidding.
For real.
Quite literally busted.
Yeah. Mama, no.
Mama, no.
Can you imagine you're busting and you see your mom's face?
It hits right in her forehead.
That's gotta be psychologically damaging. Let's ask the professional psychologist.
I would think that would be damaging.
For me or for my mom? Which
no, for your mom.
Okay.
To you, it's just
mom.
Tuesday.
Look, I had something like that happen, but not masturbating.
Oh, okay. I actually did have that happen to me, but it wasn't my mom, though.
Actually, back in the day, we used to smoke a lot. And I had more black light posters on the walls, the ceilings. And I had 3 black lights, so the room was like walking into a store, only it was my bedroom. And my friends would come over and we'd hang out and we'd smoke, and we had a lock on the door. Not a real
not
heavy
to keep
duty.
people in, right?
Yeah, no, to keep people out, like my parents, and we'd light a lot of incense to kind of disguise everything. And my father was a manufacturer, so he had a big business, and he had a sewing factory, and he had a bunch of sewers. And his lead floor lady was Japanese, and she passed away. So my mom and him went to their funeral. And if you've never been to a Japanese funeral, they light a lot of incense.
Yeah,
it's very traditional. So my dad comes home that day, and he's knocking on my door, which he did, quite often. And we try to cover everything up before he'd come in. And he walks in the room. We have a lot of incense burning, and he walks in and he looks around the room, and me and my friends were all fucked up. And he goes, "So who'd you bury today?" I said, "What?" And then I found out that he went to this funeral, and it wasn't until many years later that they actually found out what we were actually doing. That time it didn't make much sense.
You're like, yo, Dad, what are you even saying to me right now?
Have you two ever been walked in on, whether it was drugs or masturbation?
Never.
No?
I can't say I have.
Damn, my parents never gave a fuck.
It doesn't feel very comfortable, just to let you know. It may or may not scar me, but my question. So the question I wanted to ask you was,
wait. Well, sorry, I don't mean
big drum roll.
But real quick before, I guess you're already on a roll, so you can ask him. But after the question, I'd like him to kind of introduce himself and kind of give us a a
some
of what.
I thought that's what I was waiting for. I thought when you
you want to do that?
No. We got introduced. Yeah,
you want to hold that conversation?
I can hold it.
Okay. How long? For how long? You're changing colors. Okay. Don't hold your breath. Okay. No problem. Okay.
Uncle Mark, welcome to the pod. This is the None of Our Business podcast. We invited you out here because, well, personally, me, I thought you'd be incredibly. I thought you'd be an incredibly great guest, and with your experience and everything, I was like real quick to be like, yeah, let's get my Uncle Mark on here. I'm glad he agreed to come on.
You're highly praised by Joe. He has like a shrine in his room of you.
Well, thank you for
with
having
incense.
me.
Absolutely.
Nice. Oh, incense and peppermint.
Peppermint.
Ah.
Give us a little rundown of who you are, where you came from, all that stuff. It's not an interview, this is just a little introduction, and we'll keep it pushing.
That's okay. Hey, fuck it if you can't take a joke.
Hey,
That's all
right.
good.
Hey.
Yeah, it's all good. Let's see. I'm a product of the 50s. I was born in the 50s. So when I started hitting my glorious years, here came the 60s.
That's right.
And
That's
probably one of the most amazing times. If you weren't there, I don't care how many videos you watch, how much music
It's
you
not the
listen
same.
to. It's not the same. It was such an amazing time period. I mean, things that we saw from that 10-year period from 60 to 70 when I graduated high school was quite amazing. Man landing on the moon, Martin Luther King being assassinated, Robert Kennedy being assassinated, just the whole political scene, the drugs, the rock and roll, everything was all sort of so interconnected. Vietnam War, people were protesting. I remember, dreading the fact that if I ever got, drafted, oh my God, what am I going to do? I started saving money. I was ready to hire an attorney, and I was probably going to move to Canada.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't something I really believed in. But
Hey,
it was
Bush did it.
a lot of people did.
Trump did.
Yeah.
A lot of people did.
Yeah.
I got lucky. Before I graduated, I was able to secure the final 2S, which was a student deferment, which basically meant if you were completing 12 and a half units of school,
College,
then
yeah.
you were not eligible to be drafted.
Right.
And so this went on for many years until eventually I got so tired of school. I was just, from elementary through high school, I was burned out. I didn't want to do this anymore.
Oh.
So then they went to the all-volunteer draft, and they started having the numbers, the lottery. And so the first year I drew somewhere close to 290. I thought that's pretty good. And then I waited another year, and I drew again. I was in the low 200s, and I thought, okay, it's time. I'm done. So after 2 years of wasting time and space in college, I dropped out and took my chances, and I drew 100.
Oh.
See,
And-
now we don't understand what that is because it was before our time.
Correct.
So what as far
So
as like,
basically, what
the
happened
scale is,
was
or-
what happens was there's 365 days in a year.
right.
So they would take a calendar and they take everybody's birthday and they would put it like a ping.
Yeah.
what is
It
that?
was
Like bingo.
randomized.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
and they
bingo
would draw
situation.
numbers, and so
Bingo. Yeah.
so if you were born on January 15th, you could have drawn 365.
That
and
is
then-
so weird you picked that date.
Why is that? Is that your birthday?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just been
Ooh.
drafted. Great.
You've just been drafted.
Anyway, yeah. So they had all these. So they had this draft, and it went by the numbers, and I drew 100. And that year they were planning to draft. They were planning to bring in up to 100. So I started freaking out. And long story short was, somewhere in the middle, I got my notice. I had to come down for my physical, and I was panicking, and I was already calling my attorney. And then they decided they were only going to draft up to 95.
Oh.
So
Holy shit.
I kind of lucked out. Then everything changed, and then I became, I believe, and you have to excuse me, I'm a little older, so the memory cells sometimes don't function too well. But I think it was called a 1H, and once you had a 1H, you were still eligible for the draft, but you weren't drafted. So if they needed you, they called you. And then ultimately it went down to 90, and then eventually they ended up exiting out of Vietnam, I believe, in 75. And so at that point, I never got drafted, and I became eligible up to the age of 35. You're always up till the age of 35. You can still be drafted into the military. I hit 35. Nothing was going on. I was done, and I never had to look back.
That's
okay.
crazy.
So,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can pick. Well, once you're drafted, they pick you in different. You don't have a choice of where you can go. Like if you
When-
want to go
no.
to the Navy, they put you in the
could,
Marines.
You
Oh,
could.
you
Oh,
could?
yeah. A lot of people signed up. A lot of people chose what they wanted to do, knowing full well they were going to have to serve somewhere.
Right.
So people did get a choice. But the problem was a lot of people went off to Vietnam, and mostly people of color, and of course the white people.
Hey, you
They-
picked my birth date. So.
Yeah, and so those people got lucky, and they
Yeah.
got to go to school, and the parents had money, and everyone else went off to Vietnam and came home in a coffin, and so it wasn't very popular.
Right.
And
You bring a good point that like a lot of us wouldn't even begin to understand just based on videos and news reports and all this stuff. We wouldn't even begin. That's a really packed like 15, 20 years of major events that happened.
major events. That was a time in this country that just everything changed. I mean, we're talking about from the early 50s when I was born, it was like Ozzie and Harriet. Father knows best.
Right. Leave it to Beaver.
Yeah, Leave It to Beaver. Mom's home in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
She's got the apron on. She's making cookies.
Andy Dyke Show or something like that.
Yeah, and which your dad gets home and you're in big trouble, and you were terrified because your dad worked and your mom was always home.
Right.
And so it was
Somebody told me, like, when your dad gets home, I'd be like,
yeah. So it was a real unique time. It was they slept in separate beds. You only slept together to procreate.
Wait, really? That was like throughout the most of the families.
Yeah, I remember the 50s. I remember going to people's houses and seeing
the separate beds.
And,
2 beds in
like
the
2
master
twin
bedroom.
beds,
Right.
in the bedroom, and you only really got together to have kids.
Because nowadays, if you try to get a separate bed, your girl would be all pissed at you and stuff.
Hell
like
yeah, hell yeah.
How
But
dare
it's
you?
crazy because you think of those 15 years and then you think of like our last 15 years. And
Yeah.
how many things have really happened that have been
So
crazy amazing?
all I can think of is maybe 2 things. One, and they're all tragic shit, is the 9/11. That was big.
Big.
Columbine was super huge.
But 9/11 happened
Oh, wait, you
like
said
more
15
than
years.
15 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
Your
Damn,
15
nothing.
Your last 15 years.
Our
Yeah,
last
our
15
last 15 years. Like
I was picking
nothing.
like, I guess 30 years because
You're thinking
15
it's
ain't nothing.
2015 or something?
15 years. Jesus. What happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what about the
Y2K?
CERN laboratory, Hadron
Okay.
Collider?
Okay.
But see, that wasn't
No, but that's
that,
been around for a while. The Hadron Colliders.
well, when it first was, that was in the 15-year period of it being announced to the world, but the world didn't take it as like the craziest thing ever. Though.
Exactly.
It was something just within the science community.
I mean, even getting a man on the moon, even that alone
yeah,
beats everything that's happened
know,
to
'cause
us in the last.
we
15
sent like
years.
a car. We sent a Tesla with a robot in it.
Oh, back in our
space.
days, we didn't have seat belts. Only in the front seat, if
That's
you
right.
had seat belts. We drank water from a hose. You
Mhm.
fell down. You
Oh,
ate
we
some
drank
dirt.
water from a hose too. I remember
Yeah,
drinking water
but
from
it
a hose.
was
Yeah.
just, it was
It's like,
just,
yeah, but it's
it
not
was
the
just
same.
different.
Hose would come and bring us water.
So the 50s was an interesting time. I mean,
Well, that leads me to a question, which was, what would you consider, just overall in general, as you describe, like the best decade, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, 60s out of all of them?
60s. The
Okay.
most happened in the 60s.
Because I know you kind of
But
answered it
not,
already.
not even that because I was part of it. It's just so many things happened. We saw so many things in my first 50 years of
Mhm.
life that we probably will never see again. I mean, just all the advancements in medicine, technologies, cars, science. I mean, just landing on the moon.
right.
I mean, these are things that.
Did we though?
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you on that. I've seen stuff that makes me start to really think.
Yeah.
Did we? I had a great.
Stanley Kubrick was a pretty
Yeah.
convincing director.
Well, the only speculation is because we wanted to beat another country, we would do anything
to any
to
length.
prove it.
I
Yes.
mean, look at what we're doing with 5G. We're starting to change. Our,
Yeah, what the hell is 5G?
Wait, you're
So-
talking about the
I'm
internet?
barely getting used
Yeah.
to 4G. What is
yeah, so we
5G?
have 4G, but because we've been so busy in so many other areas, that China has actually built an infrastructure.
Oh, they
for
made 5G. Okay.
But
Ah.
we're just gonna go and change the logo on our phones to 5G and tell everybody we have
Yeah,
5G.
pretty much.
Just the way we
Even
do,
though it's still 4G.
Or
Exactly.
2G,
Oh,
actually.
that's
2 or
shady.
3G.
just to win the
Mhm.
race. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, to kind of piggyback off what you guys were saying, I think the only thing that we can really say that has happened in the last 15 years that I think is of note is how atrocious our current world leader is, right? President.
Is that what he is?
According to
Is he a
him.
world
Sorry.
According to him.
He's
You know
a
what I mean?
genius, though, right?
Yeah, he's an
He
evil
says he
genius.
is.
Yeah. Just the number of things that he's done and the fact that
What has he
his-
done?
Absolutely.
the number of things he's undone. Allow me to correct that.
He's done. Yeah,
more like
undone a lot of-
undone than done.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And even his entire White House staff has actually decided
Which
not
staff?
to.
It's
Every
the,
week it changes.
yeah,
the
yeah.
newest one.
Whoever,
the newest, the
whoever
latest.
his team is, they've all decided not to participate with the impeachment. So
Yeah,
that
'cause we got
basically the
2 new
entire process.
whistleblowers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like this entire impeachment process. Yeah, we're not going to be a part of it.
But see, why blow the whistle now? I mean, you had that information. You could have blew the whistle a long time. I don't know what provoked these 2 individuals
The
that were.
Ukraine.
Oh, they yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's based around that.
Oh, okay.
The first whistleblower.
Like where they
Oh, yeah.
threaten, like if you don't whistle blow, we'll do something to you.
No, but I think there's some shady stuff going on.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
going to find it out. It's going to take some time.
There's plenty.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I
It's the
think
separation of powers that's really getting in the way. You know?
What separation?
You're right.
Yeah.
And where'd the Republican Party go?
That's true.
I think it's the
Tucked
Trump
away.
party.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Pretty much.
Well,
there's some ugly
but-
truths coming to surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with a
Real
lot of
ugly truths.
Republicans supporting him, though, it does kind of suck
Because they're scared.
Well,
Yeah.
I believe that once everything is done and gone, they'll say, "Oh, I wasn't really supporting him. I was just pretending to be." But it's like, dude, you could have really
It's
you really damaged us by pretending to be in that. And now that everything's gone and washed away, you're now going to be forthcoming and say, hey, it's all. It's just
they were
stupid.
just jokes. Huh?
Yeah. Like that's really rude. I mean, rude, but
I saw
just
I
upset.
saw a cartoon and it shows a picture of a milk carton and it shows a spine and it says, "Where's the
Ah.
Republican spine?" Like
Yeah.
Asian
True.
kids on a milk carton.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
true.
And I think
Yeah.
if you took most of these Republicans and you put them behind closed doors and it was a private vote, a secret vote,
Mm-hmm.
he'd be gone tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
But in
Absolutely.
the real world, they're terrified. He bullies everybody. He
I mean,
threatens
is
you.
he is he really a man of such influence that people are that scared of him?
He's sick. There's something really wrong with him. And they've done, a lot of psychiatrists and people in all walks of life.
Just based on observations.
Yeah, old generals, people retired. Everyone's talking the same thing, but
Mm.
he's still there.
And he
it'll
aligns
happen.
himself with pretty bad people. So
Very
if
bad
if you
people.
go against him,
I mean, he's
he won't do it, but somebody else next to him.
He'll destroy your career.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
that-
good at that.
he's got that much flow. He's got
Yeah.
that much power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That shit is
man.
crazy. Yeah.
But then again, when we watch this documentary called The Family, it's like, well, how much power does he have over you? Like, if anybody in that group went up against Trump,
Well, yeah.
I mean,
They even talk about how, I mean, it's because of Cambridge Analytica that he was able to steal the election. He wasn't supposed to win.
He wasn't supposed to win.
Yeah.
Because all of that shit is kind of,
we know
set up.
we know how it played out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's very sad, but that's part of what I hate about social media.
Yeah.
So this
It-
wouldn't
it
have happened in the
turned the-
60s. And
This would not have happened
never-
in the 60s.
yeah.
I remember in the 60s, I remember watching with my grandfather,
Mhm.
watching the Nixon-Kennedy debates.
Okay.
yeah.
And poor Richard Nixon, he had this 5 o'clock shadow, so he didn't look very well groomed. He
Mhm.
didn't look very well prepared. And here's this young Kennedy, very
Handsome,
well
yeah.
shaved,
Yeah.
yes, handsome,
Yeah.
and he just tore him apart. And he barely won the election. It wasn't like it was a runaway. It was a
Right.
very close election, but he
Right.
did win. And that was the first time they'd ever had a televised debate.
Televised.
And,
yeah, that was the
and he
first-
wasn't ready. Today, everything, forget television. We're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
back in those days, that's all you had.
Yeah, it was kind of like we're going back and, this is radio. This is
Yeah.
the original.
The original.
Yeah.
Pirate
Yeah.
radio. Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the
Hey,
days, that's
pirate
all people
radio.
listened to.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the great TV shows, not TV shows, great programs over The Shadow.
yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
a question along those lines.
Yeah.
You were around for a lot of like world first releases of music.
Oh,
What's one song that literally changed your life when you were like, what the fuck is
Hey,
this?
that's a great question.
Because you've heard the music transform over the years.
Oh, I've seen it.
There had
Not
to have
only
been
that-
one that just was
yeah.
like,
So you were there to see like Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and Queen and all that
I've seen
stuff.
all of these bands before anybody died.
Damn.
I even waited in line and at the Forum with my buddies all night to get tickets to see The Who.
man.
And we-
The Forum.
At the Forum,
Wow.
back when the original Forum,
Yeah, yeah.
not the new one.
Yeah.
I've been to the new one as well, but
Yeah.
yeah, I saw a lot of great concerts. I've probably been to over 150 concerts, maybe more.
So what
Oh,
was one of the ones that that took
I've
you
seen
away?
some-
It was
I've
like,
seen some amazing concerts.
Yes?
I remember I saw the Kinks at the Santa Monica
Kinks.
Civic Auditorium,
Okay.
and that was back in the 60s, and
Yeah.
they weren't even that popular yet.
damn.
And I saw Devo. I've seen
Devo.
back at Santa Monica Civic.
Yeah.
I've seen everyone from the Doors, the Beatles, the
Wow.
Stones.
You got to see this Beatles in concert, man.
I don't remember. It's vague.
It's probably really
it was-
loud.
Yeah.
and all
It
that
was a long-
screaming.
I was really young. I was only like 14 years old. I don't even know
Gotcha.
who took me.
Okay.
Right.
I saw Santana when they made their
Nice.
Oh, that had to
LA
be
debut at the
amazing,
Greek
man.
Theater
At the Greek Theater,
in
nice.
'68.
Wow.
And I remember I didn't have any weed because I was still young and I was afraid to, because back in those days,
Yeah.
you had a roach, you probably did about 2 years in jail.
Damn.
I mean, it was
Holy
really
shit.
serious.
Yeah.
You had to really be worried.
Yeah.
And that was something today. Like today, I'm like, oh my God, I walk into a dispensary and it goes like being in a candy store.
Yeah.
and in those days, it was
Yeah.
totally different. But
yeah.
so people were passing weed, and I was
Wow.
getting high, and I saw Diana Ross in the Supremes farewell concert at the Holiday
Nice.
Bowl.
Wow.
Did you see Sinatra in them? Like the Rat
never
Pack?
saw.
No?
You know,
That was too early.
that
right?
was never. I remember the music, but
Okay.
that wasn't really my music.
Right.
I really
right.
didn't follow that. I remember I got my driver's license. I was 16. We took my mother's. She had a Chevy station wagon, 4-door station wagon. And I mentioned this because in the very back of the station wagon, there was like a panel that you could open up and you could actually put somebody in there.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And I'll get around to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Some of the silly things we did with that. But we got in the car, got my driver's license, picked up all my buddies,
Yeah.
and we went to the Hollywood Bowl. And I believe we saw Tommy James and the Shondells,
Okay.
the Rascals,
Okay.
and I want to think Eric Burton and the Animals, if my memory
The Animals.
serves
Oh,
correct.
wow.
So this was back in I got my license in 68.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's 1968.
That was a crazy year.
And these are some of the things we did with the station wagon. We went to Westwood and me,
Yeah.
I hold accountability here, drove the car on the sidewalk, and we're driving down the sidewalk in front of people's houses. And
In
all of a
Santa
sudden my
Monica.
friend goes, "What happened to the music?" And apparently the antenna was before they had the flexible ones or the ones in your
Oh,
glass.
so you had to
We had
actually.
the real antenna that you could put 76
Yeah.
balls on and stuff. And
Yeah.
driving on the sidewalk, the antenna hit a tree, snapped off. So there went the radio. We didn't have fancy stereos back then. They were very
Okay, yeah.
simplistic. And that was the end of the radio. And then we would do really silly stunts like drive up and down Sunset Boulevard. And we'd drive in the car and we'd open up, we'd put somebody in the back, and all of a sudden we'd stop. They'd jump out of the back of a trunk and just go doo-dah down the boulevard and get back in the car, and we drove off.
Ghost,
we
Ghost
did
ride
some-
the whip. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did,
early Ghost Ride. Yeah.
yeah, we did, really silly things back
Huh.
in the day. We were
Jeez.
we were
Oh,
crazy. I mean, who
man.
drives on the sidewalk?
Well,
I don't
one
think- I don't
person
know.
did.
One person
but
did, yeah,
That's not
but-
good news.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was a different scenario.
yeah.
though.
it was a different
So
scenario.
That's crazy. So you saw. Were you also into like the urban scene music? Sly and the Family Stones,
Of course.
Parliament.
Love Sly and the Family Stone.
Okay, Earth, Wind, and Fire. All
Earth,
that
Wind,
stuff.
and Fire. I just saw them recently for the first time.
They're still going.
And they're still going, but they were amazing.
Yeah.
Look, back in my day, the music all blended together. You didn't really see much. I mean, my favorite Saturday afternoon,
Hmm?
American Bandstand
Oh, okay.
and Soul Train.
Soul Train.
Mm-hmm.
Back to back, they came on
Did
the
you
air.
watch the Midnight Special?
And I
Or
watched the Midnight Special.
Yeah,
occasionally. Yeah, but those are my two favorite shows.
Gotcha.
I love watching the people dance. I loved the music. It was just, everything was so integrated. You didn't really think,
Mm.
you would hear the music and it was, everything and all things.
Right.
And, and it was just an amazing time.
I think what's amazing is that you can still put on a show like American Bandstand or Soul Train, like put on a rerun,
Uh-huh.
and you'll
People watch
still
it.
sit down and watch it.
Yep.
Of course.
You'll
Yep.
still
Classic,
sit down and watch
classic,
it. Like
classic
it
stuff.
was just that engaging.
It was
Just
that
being able to
engaging.
watch somebody dance or
yeah.
a huge artist perform,
Mm-hmm.
like just casually, like it's
the
nothing,
line dance.
Yeah.
where
Oh,
everybody
the
lined
line
up,
dance.
I
and then
mean-
the first two people went down the middle and danced, and you saw the different styles. And I
You
was always jealous because I'm not a great dancer, but I enjoyed watching it.
Oh,
and you
okay.
could go to like any prom or homecoming or
They'll
any
do
of
it.
those things nowadays,
Mhm.
and they'll still do a line dance,
Mm-hmm.
and they have no idea where they got it
They had
from.
no idea where they got it from.
but they do it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's
That's
so
right.
it's so
That's
crazy.
right.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
So back in the day when you were going to these concerts, where you buy your ticket and you're supposed to sit in the seat that you bought it.
It wasn't like
Did- did-
today.
Or standing room.
I
It
was gonna
standing room.
say,
It's totally
see?
different. I went to see, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ginger Baker.
No.
He was a drummer with
maybe.
Cream.
Cream. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, he
yeah.
just died.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay, back in the day, he was supposedly, speeding away on drugs, and he wasn't going to live very long. And so there was a farewell tour for Cream, and I went to see that.
Oh.
And back then, the opening group was Deep Purple.
Oh shit.
And so I just went up to the
Wow.
very front, and I just sat on the stage
Yeah.
watching the show, and
Yeah.
nobody bothered you. You
Yeah.
walked around freely. You didn't, not like
Exactly.
today, where you have to be in section G. You can't move out of G. If
Exactly.
you go to
Right.
section A, get back to G. Where are
Yeah.
you going?
Unless you go to the Roxy.
Right. Oh, I went to the Rock. I'll tell you the story about the
Yeah.
Roxy too. Another good story.
Yeah.
But yes, it was amazing, and Cream was amazing, and
That's
a lot of people in the audience were wearing skeleton masks,
Ah.
and they were all saying, "Oh, he's going to die." Well, obviously, he just died, so
Right,
he's
right.
obviously lived a long, healthy life
Yeah.
after that.
Like
So
a
you
Mick
were-
Jagger
you were
and
up
Rolling
close.
Stones. know, they've
Yeah.
never.
Fuck, he's
I know.
still alive.
Yeah,
So-
and they're still alive.
So you're up close with Eric Clapton, right? Seeing him in Cream.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
with Cream, Eric
Yeah.
Clapton. Yeah.
In the
Seen him just
white
going,
room.
"That's
Yeah,
You know, and
yeah.
they were a very short-lived group, only a couple years, and they put out some amazing
Yeah.
music. What a
Mhm.
catalog!
Mhm.
Just like
Yeah.
the Beatles, they were only together technically about 8 years,
Yeah.
and look at the catalog they put together in 8 years.
Yeah,
I think they got
Wow.
pushed by their manager to pop out an album like every song.
Oh, I don't know. They were just amazing.
I've been making
Yeah.
music since I was 14, and in no way have I put out that many tracks. God
That's a
damn.
lot of.
I
that's a
mean,
lot of- that's a lot
but
of trouble.
You have a lot of
maybe you
music?
put them all together. You probably have a lot
Yeah,
of
it's-
songs.
yeah.
I mean, they
on
got their
category.
catalog's over 200 songs. I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
that's-
you know, and even today, some of their songs are recorded by I don't know how many people.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
hundreds-
absolutely.
They
some
made
of
a
those
movie
songs-
about it.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Across the Universe. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh no, that one where apparently the Beatles didn't exist.
Oh, yesterday I saw
Yesterday,
that.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
cute.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know if that can physically be possible.
Yellow
'cause that's-
Submarine. What is that about? Because I watched the movie and I was like, what the
That was about
fuck am I
pee.
watching?
It's a cartoon. I'm not really sure what it's about,
yeah.
but it was fun. But
Don't
going,
you have to be on LSD to know what it's about, right?
yeah.
Okay.
But going back to the Roxy,
Mhm.
I was there. I forgot what year it was. I think it was probably in the early 70s.
Mhm.
And my ex got us tickets to go see the Rocky Horror
You
Picture Show,
did? Okay.
and had no idea what it was.
Uh-huh.
That was we were there. I think either the opening night or the second night
Wow.
that it played, and we were sitting along the runway.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going, what is this? And then when it was done, we left there and went, whoa,
I
this
know.
is the strangest thing I think I've ever said. That was all the original people, Tim Curry, everybody that
Oh,
was in
wow.
the original. I mean, this was
Wow.
its debut. This is way before the movies.
Right, right.
You know, your Saturday night in Santa Monica where they
Yeah.
have the
Yeah,
Rocky
yeah,
Horror
yeah.
Picture
Yeah,
Show.
yeah.
But this was the original production. And this was, I think, the second night. And I was like, it was amazing.
So entertainment wise, back in these early years, it was people went out and traveled to look at stuff and get their entertainment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every weekend we would go to numerous places, Santa
Some-
Monica Civic,
Okay.
the Forum,
Roller skating, things like that.
Roller skating, the whiskey up on the Sunset
whiskey,
Strip,
yep.
and Gazzari's.
Gazzari's.
Yeah,
There
the
were
whiskey
so
is
many.
not what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was just, it was just different.
Right.
And we went roller skating. We went to the bowling alley. We went to parties.
Mhm.
We socialized. If you wanted to go
Right.
see your friends, you just go on their door, knock on their door as John, Steve, Denise, whatever. Are they home? And and you rode your bike without helmets.
You took girls to the Point or whatever that place was.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you go to the drive-in movies,
Mm.
and
That
and
I've
we
done.
all parked in the
That I've
back, and
done,
all the windows
yeah.
were steamy, and everybody was doing their thing,
Yeah.
and it was just such an amazing time. I mean, they don't even have drive-ins anymore.
No.
Yeah,
well,
they're very few and
There's
far
like
between.
one,
yeah.
but it's like a gimmick kind of
Yeah,
thing.
we had A&W root beer drive-in restaurants.
Ah,
You
yeah.
drive in, the girls on the roller skates would
Yeah.
come and put the tray on your window, and you'd
Mhm.
have your food, and people socialized. People got out and socialized. People
Yeah.
went places. You did things.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yeah.
I went to go see, I think it was the Gorillas with a buddy of mine, Brad. He's a couple of years
How
my
was it?
senior. He's like 40 something, right? It was good,
Good show?
man. And there's a reason to this, though. I'm bringing this up.
Please.
So he pulls out a joint from his sock, already giving away his age, right? He's like, "What's up, man?" And he lights it up, and I'm like, "I don't usually, but okay." And while I'm sitting there, he's like, I got these wax seats because we're not going to sit in these seats, man. He said, we're going to go walk around and see if we
Yeah.
can get closer. You know what I mean? And
We did that all the time.
Yeah. And out of nowhere, I hear the words come across my head. We used to be people that would go to places to be with other people.
That's right.
And now we're just people going places.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
difference. I
Does that
agree. I
resonate with
agree
you?
with that. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's why I
Yeah.
like standing room only. 'cause
I
then
mean,
you
we
can
live
walk
in an
in front.
age now where you could log on to YouTube and watch Coachella. Like,
Pretty much.
you don't have
be
to go
there.
to Coachella to.
You don't even have to leave your house. You can
No.
have your
Crazy.
groceries delivered.
No.
You can get your
That's
clothes
true.
delivered.
That's
you can
true.
get
But you
food
do avoid
delivered.
getting an STD if you stay at home watching Coachella.
Oh, not necessarily. You
What?
could have,
Okay,
a,
yeah,
you could have a
techn-
girl with you who's got
technically,
an
yes.
STD willing to give it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or a
Willing
sex
to
toy.
give it.
I mean,
Can I get some of those crabs, please?
Let me get some
Yeah.
of that. Let me get some of that chlamydia, please.
Yes.
There's a question. How do you think girls have changed over the years in terms of their demeanor and like hanging out?
Things have changed measurably.
Like they're not interested
Look,
in
no,
as free
look.
love as much as.
Look, I'll tell you,
Okay.
back in the day,
So I need to take a time machine. That's what I need.
And
you need a
in
time
mind-
machine.
keep
And
in mind-
I'll be waiting for y'all.
Okay.
keep in mind
Yeah.
that a lot of our listenership is actually also women. So
Yeah.
Whoa!
You know,
that we have to have honest
It is.
opinion
I'll
here.
be,
That's
I'll be
bad.
honest. You know, back in the day, there was a lot more respect for women. You know,
Really?
yeah. When
People
I
say the opposite.
well, when I would date and I would go out with women, and if a woman said no, no meant no.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't force yourself on them. You didn't. You know, like today, they call this date rape and
Right.
whatever they're calling it, but you respected women, and even though sex was free and women were just just as much a part of it as the guys were, it was different. You know, today I think women are sort of, not sure how I want to explain this,
Right.
but
It's fine.
you go out on a date.
go ahead.
You go out on a date. You go somewhere, and obviously you're paying for dinner, you're paying for a concert, you're paying for a show. Then you go home, and you do whatever you do. But today I've known a lot of women in my day that I've gone out with, and they've used me
Mhm.
for a concert, to go to dinner,
Right.
or for something. So I think in some way there's more equality, at least in that arena. I think
Okay,
you find
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
little bit different. But back in the day, like I went out with this girl, I was probably 16, and I was very bold. I didn't think that,
Mhm.
you just kind of go with the program. So I would try to do more things, like if I could get my hand underneath her blouse, and if she allowed me to take her
Yeah.
bra off, I was like, wow.
Mhm.
And I remember doing that for the first time when I was like 14 at the park. And I said to this girl I was dating, I said, "Is it okay?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, okay, you can do that."
Yeah.
And it was exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
reaching, and then back in those days, they even had, in those days we had things like first base, second base, third base,
Yeah.
and it was comical as it sounds, but there was a lot of truth to it. I mean, a lot of girls say, "Oh well, I'm only gonna let you go to second base." I'm like, "What's second base?" Think about it for a minute. And then,
You're
and I had-
calculating in your
and-
head.
Yeah, and I had a girl that I was going out with, and I somehow couldn't get to the party she was at, and she goes, "Oh well, you missed out." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" She goes, "Oh well, I went with so and so. I let him go to third base." And I went,
She told you she let somebody else do it?
Yeah. She was trying to get me
Damn.
jealous. She wanted me,
Oh.
But and today I think it's really different, because women go out and they have the same. There's the equality. I think it's different. Back then, there was no equality. You'd go out with a girl, and whatever you did, and right away, "Oh, he used me. Oh, he did this or he did that," and and I hate him, and it's just different. I think women today have more respect for themselves. They, especially today, women have their own business. Women work. Women are breadwinners. Women, are more equal in so many other areas. Yeah, there's still a glass ceiling, of course. I understand that, where there's only so far a woman can go at certain types of professions. But in general, women have it going on more today. I have a lot of respect for women. I respect women that have their own business and that work. And even if they make more money than me, I don't care. You want to take me out to dinner? Take me out to dinner.
Yeah.
I've
That's a
taken you to
bonus.
dinner. You take me
I
to
second
dinner.
the notion.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. That's all good. I
Yep.
think there's nothing wrong with that. So, in answer to your question,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. So it's definitely
so
different.
much different. I mean, just the fact that when I was in elementary school in 64, when the Beatles were just coming out, and girls' skirts went to their knees,
Right.
and guys had to have their hair very short. There were dress codes. You could only wear certain kind of clothes. You couldn't have your hair long. If your hair was long over your ear, they sent you home.
Mm.
If the girl went into the VP's office, and they'd say, "Okay, you get down on the ground, get on your knees," and if your skirt didn't touch the ground, you got sent home.
Wow.
In the boys'
Damn.
VP's office, there were paddles on the wall, a very wide
that
array
spanking.
of
Did
paddles.
that ever happen to you?
Never got paddled. Never
Wow.
got in the office too many times, maybe twice.
Oh, the
and
bad
both,
boys.
and both times, it scared the crap out of me. I wasn't gonna get hit,
Mhm.
but it was there. That was the reality of it.
I would
Yeah.
absolutely destroy any like administrative assistant
Oh,
or
you
teacher who would touch my child now.
Oh, now, okay.
If they got a paddling.
different today. Different
Yeah,
today.
I would
Kids
like
are
it.
kids are more protected than animals.
Be like, you
Yeah.
fucking
So,
crazy! How dare you touch my child?
Yeah.
What do you think it was about parents back in the day that just allowed that kind of discipline to exist outside of the home?
I believe that they allowed the schools to have more control. And the schools back then really did. They took care of pretty much everything. They taught you. You actually had good teachers. Teachers taught because they wanted to teach. Today, teachers don't want to teach because there's no money in it, so they go to private sector. And so you have less control. You have metal detectors in schools.
That's nuts, man.
You know, but back then it was just different. The teachers really, they controlled everything. And you didn't
including
get
the curriculum, huh?
Yeah, you didn't get as much homework. They cared more. They gave you more. You went to school and the parents felt very comfortable. And so the schools had more control. Therefore, if they wanted to punish you, they were allowed to do that. And I think the parents were too busy working, or the dad was working, the mom was home taking care of the kids. So yeah, it was different.
Wow.
Doesn't that happen in church too? Like because they used to spank, or I would hear stories of kids getting hit with what do you call it? Rulers and stuff like that.
Yes, they did that.
Parents were okay with that.
Yeah, parents were okay because the schools and they were taking care of your kids. Where today, when your kids go to school, you really have to step it up. You have to get involved. You have to be a part of it. You have to join either a PTA or some kind of group. And if you want your kids to be successful, you have to be a part of that. And if you're not a part of that, your kid's going to get left behind. Because I know how many times I went to school and I would hear from, other students, I wish my mom was here. I wish my dad would have come. And they, the parents were too busy. And the ones that, like when I went, I know my kids got more going on for them because I showed up, I cared. So therefore, they gave the kids more.
You mean your kids currently?
No. My kids are all grown.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about back when my kids were growing up.
Okay.
And because things had changed so much.
You made the effort to be
I had to make the effort. I was part of the PTA. I was on the board of directors. There was a couple of there were like 2 or 3 of us that were very much feared by the whole school because we controlled so much, but we had to, because otherwise the kids would not have gotten that much.
Right.
Damn.
So if someone wanted to get involved with something like that, you definitely recommend that starting with the PTA
recommend
would be the best.
parents today get involved. If there's a board and there's an opening and they're looking for parents to get on the board, I would say get on the board. I would say definitely.
No, I'm not on the board.
I would say join the PTA.
But I go to all of. I do
go
go
all
to
the back
all
to school nights. And I can't tell you how many times I'd go back and I'd look at the list because they would give you a list to sign and there'd be 15 signatures. And I'm thinking, there's got to be 30 kids in this class, and there's at least 5 classes. And there's
parents doing some swinging action over there.
Yeah. So, I think that's important today.
Yeah.
You really need to be involved. But back in the day, you didn't have to be as involved.
Wow.
It's a different time.
Yeah, it's definitely, I can see how now, especially because the curriculum, I think, is still the same curriculum that was taught maybe even when you were going to school. Like it hasn't changed at all.
It hasn't changed. And that's why the kids are so bored.
Other than the history books, that's
even the history books are tainted.
Yeah, they're omitting so much.
They omit so many things. It's appalling.
It's ridiculous.
It is. And
I don't know. Because Gavin's in 2nd grade right now, and I know that the work that he receives is a lot different than what I
in
would
2nd grade
have gotten in 2nd grade. Yeah. I can't say the same for like high school or anything. I'm sure they're still using some of the same books,
probably.
But I know for sure that like Gavin's 2nd grade teacher is teaching him stuff that I don't remember learning,
like programming and stuff.
I mean, he does have computer class. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, the computer class we had wasn't
until like.
But you guys grew up with computers.
Kind of, sorta, kind of. I would say around.
They're just like you guys are like 5 years older than me, right? 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
older
I would say because I would say around when Apple had its 3rd computer, when it was starting to do like color in its screen, so early 90s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's when we were.
I think the first computer class I ever had was like in 6th or 7th grade.
And mine was in 4th or 5th.
I remember the first computer. We had a room with like 7 towers.
You were around before computers.
Yes, before computers. Absolutely. But I remember the first computers, and there was a room that we had at our office. There was like 7 giant towers, and then miles and miles of paper feedback. I mean, just stacks of it.
Yeah.
And then we got the first actual.
I was going to say, what was your first personal computer?
My first personal computer was a Macron, and I got it. I don't remember. Maybe in the early 80s. No, but I remember the first computer at work, and we had a computer screen and a keypad and a little tower. And I remember them teaching us, and I was like, this is amazing shit.
Oh, so you were super excited, yeah?
I was super excited. I was one of the few people in the office that understood the concept of it. So I was helping other people.
Oh, okay.
And then going in and out of programs and shifting here and there. I was like, wow, what an amazing concept.
In no way in your mind did you ever think that this is the future. Something's
Never.
about to happen to this stuff.
Not really.
Okay.
Are there any companies that you had opportunities to invest in?
He's
that
gonna-
you might have
he's
missed?
gonna-
I had opportunities, but my father was not one that understood stock market, and he was
Gotcha.
not really into that. But I had a very good friend of mine. His
Yeah.
parents owned IBM. They
Oh,
owned some
was his-
AT&T.
Was his name Bill Gates?
No. And I thought to myself, wow, years later, I thought, shit, if I had just had the insight,
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
even for, and
Just
even
a
for a couple $100, you could
Yeah.
have bought some shares. And today
Mhm.
they've split, I don't know, 100 times and worth
Yeah,
millions and millions.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's got to be heavy, man.
Do you-
That's heavy. Yeah,
Do
it
you happen
is.
to know how the stock market kind of works as far as getting cash return? Because I had a conversation with a friend of mine about when you actually put money in the stock and it grows, you can't just, or at least I don't think you can't just go to the stock market and say, "Hey, I want all my money back."
Yeah, you can.
And they give it to you like cold hard
You
cash.
got to pay
they put it
taxes
into-
on it, but
put it into
yeah.
your
Yeah,
bank
You
account.
know what? I'm not real familiar, but I know that if you have stock,
Uh-huh.
and let's say your stock's really doing well,
Yeah.
several things can happen. It can split. So if you own 50 shares, now you have 100.
Mhm.
It could split again a couple years later, and your 100 becomes 2. You can buy your stock at any time you want, all or in part. A lot of people take out their profit, leave in their initial investment.
Okay.
I've never done any stock investing, so I really don't know
Mm.
exactly
That's
how
a
it
great
works.
thing to bring up after
Yeah, but I do know that you could take all your stock out.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I never knew.
And I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I would have to imagine you're right. You get taxed on it.
Yeah,
Well, of course, you
Because
can I mean,
it's
the
income.
government's not going
It's
to let you.
income. They're not going to let you
Yeah.
slide. No.
The easiest
No.
thing to use today would be the app Acorns. That would be a great place for you to start if you haven't already. Acorns.
Hey, that's what's his name's? He invested in that company. What's his name? Ashton Kutcher, right?
Yeah,
That's his company, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
or he
yeah,
invested in it.
I think he invested in
Oh,
it.
I thought he.
I
created
do have I think a question that you really can't speak on, given that you have successfully as a family been able to establish some form of wealth over the years. If there was anybody who's currently starting a family and is thinking about the future, what's one thing you would recommend they do to sort of really solidify and start to build now as opposed to way later? Given your history and success,
I would.
is property really the way to go as soon as possible?
I would say what you would probably want to do would start to save money.
Just saving,
Saving money. I'm not sure exactly how that would orchestrate.
like putting
I
into
guess-
CDs or anything? No?
I would say, look, depending on what you earn,
Right.
I would say sacrificing something or some things to start putting money aside. I'm not sure if I'd want
Just
to.
in general, saving. your
I would
money.
say in general, because at some point you're going to want to maybe purchase a house. I would say if you're savvy in the market, if you understand stocks, if you understand muni bonds or something like that,
Yeah.
you might want to invest a little bit. I think the big problem today is that back in my day, there were far more people working, so more people were paying into like Social Security
Right.
and things of that nature, where today there's fewer people that are working that are paying into it and more people are taking out of it.
Mm.
So I'm not sure where all this is going to be in 20 years from now.
No,
That's
and you
why you're
guys
so
are young.
hesitant. Okay.
So I would definitely say start
save your money.
start saving money.
Buying
if you-
gold, maybe?
gold might be, I'm not saying put everything into one basket.
Right,
I would say
right.
diversify yourself out, but I would definitely say start saving, maybe putting, in some CDs,
Okay.
find something that gives you some kind of yield back. Cause obviously there's not that great,
Yeah.
a yield back on
Yeah,
even
probably 0.003%.
I was just going to say, you have a checking account that earns interest. You're getting what back? 0.00000 to infinity and beyond.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think success today, because the world is so different and, purchasing a house maybe 20, 30 years ago, like my dad,
Yeah.
he purchased over his lifetime, maybe 5 houses. The first house he bought, I think he bought it for like 26,000.
Right.
That same house
Jesus,
today,
$26,000
yeah,
for a
the
house.
same house today is on the west side.
Yeah.
It's on Crest Drive
Okay.
off of Robertson.
Mhm.
Near
Okay.
the,
Oh,
near
yeah,
the
yeah,
10th
yeah,
near the-
yeah.
yeah,
Where's
10th
that?
freeway.
That same house, I've been back there several times, and I'll tell you a cute story that goes with this house. But the house itself today is worth about maybe $1 million,
Jeez.
and he
Wow.
paid 26,000. This is way back, way back.
Yeah.
The house next door had these 2 big trees and like a chair that went around them, and you couldn't see the house itself, but the 2 big trees. I went behind that house, behind those trees as a kid, and drew drew pictures with crayons.
Mhm.
I had all this artwork that I did. I went back there 30 years ago. They were still there. They had
Oh,
not painted
man.
that. They had not painted there behind there yet.
Wow.
So, that was the kind of stuff
Yeah.
as a kid. But, so real estate back
That's
then. So my
awesome.
dad would sell the house maybe 5 years later, and now it's worth maybe 50,000. So now he upgrades. He buys another house. He buys that house for
So he's
maybe
flipping houses.
not flipping. He was living. We were living in them.
Oh,
Yeah, we were
okay.
we were living
Okay.
in these houses. And so after maybe 5 more years, 6 more years, now that house is worth more. Then we moved up to another house, then another house, and pretty soon, the last house that he had purchased, that he sold, he bought it for maybe 400, 500, sold it for $1 million. Today, when you buy a house, you might wait a long time till you get that same return. The return is not the same. That's why millennials are not really buying houses.
Being
A lot of them have
hesitant,
saved
yeah.
money. A lot
Yeah.
of them have maybe $100,000, $200,000 that they've saved, and there's not the return, not the same return anymore. And after the financial crunch of a few years back and things like that, so people are not buying houses, but they are saving the money, anticipating possibly a house or something of that nature. So if
Right.
I would say anything, I would say save your money, build your credit score.
Right.
If I don't know what if you have credit cards or if you have furniture debt or something, and make your monthly payments.
Yeah.
And as long as you're making consistent payments, the credit agencies look at your score and they go, "Wow, this person's pretty good. They're consistent. They haven't missed a payment." Your credit scores slowly go up. So I would say, be mindful of your credit scores, build your credit scores. I would say if you can save money, save money. If you can find something to invest in that's not, high risk. Obviously at a young age, you don't want to make an investment and then turn around and, oh shit, now I've lost it all in a week. Being careful, but moving along slowly. But you want to build something,
Right.
for the future.
Right. Right.
You
And
don't
it's
want to
just-
wait, because who knows in 20, 30 years from now, if Social Security will be there. They keep talking about it. The saddest part is it's our money.
Yeah.
It's money that we are putting in, yet the government keeps borrowing from it, saying, "Oh, well, we don't have enough. There's issues with it. We need to fix it, change it." What are you fucking changing? This is your money.
Yeah.
They're taking this out of your paycheck every week, week in, week out, month in, year out. They're taking your
I
money.
know. Am I going to get a
And
reimbursement?
are you going to ever get it
like-
reimbursed to you? And
Nothing.
that may not happen.
Yay,
So
government.
you need to look at other things, maybe 401ks, to make sure those are also safe.
Right.
Because even those took a beating at when we had
Yeah,
the
I've
last
heard
meltdown.
a lot of things
Right.
about that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and people lost a lot of their money. And so, there's really no good answer.
Right.
But, as
Especially
young,
with the future, the way it looks so bleak right now. Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're taking care of yourself,
Okay.
And if you find something, if you do find a property or something you want to buy, and you can get a decent purchase on it right now, I don't know what the interest rates look like.
Right.
And that's even challenging, even for young people today, to go out and buy something. They're going to put you
Ownership
through.
is hard.
Yeah, they're going to make you jump through circles and rings and not how high. Just they're going to say jump, and they're going to say how high, and they just want you to go through all this.
Yeah.
And this is challenging. They look at your credit scores. Even when you go to get a job today, this is shocking. They run your credit.
No shit.
I didn't know that. I read this maybe 2-3 years ago. I don't know if they're still doing this.
Right.
But what the fuck? And I think maybe they're looking to see, are you financially okay? Are you in trouble? If we hire you, are you being hired out of desperation?
Right.
Or are you being hired because you like the job?
Wow.
So,
Yeah,
there's so many things
that's-
that have changed today. It's like,
Yeah.
it's really different. And the employment it sucks.
Employment rates, are
Yeah,
pretty
you
bad
have a
too.
job where maybe there's 10 people and you're doing equal amount of work, and then now things are not going so well, so they let 2 people go. They keep you. They say keep your wages the same,
Increase your workload.
and increase
yeah.
your workload.
Did you
So-
tell them or something?
No.
Were you a soothsayer? How do you know all this information?
No, 'cause
He
it's
guessed my
happening everywhere.
birthday and all
Like, how
this-
do you know my life right
Because
now?
it happened to him recently.
I just
Yeah.
recently, yeah. So,
That's cool.
Just
That's
talk
cool.
about
No,
it.
it's cool.
No, I recently got laid off, but because the company went over budget on a particular project, but then rehired me back in a different position, but then that position just ended too, and I still haven't gotten my unemployment card. It's been like 3
I
weeks
didn't
now.
even know you were supposed to get an unemployment card.
Yeah, you can choose
I don't know
between
how
a
that works.
card or a
And
check in the mail.
Wow.
You can do either or. You can do a debit card or a
A
check.
direct
And,
deposit.
and that's how
Oh,
much it's
gotcha.
changed. And back in my day,
Mhm.
You filed unemployment. You had to go down to the office.
Mhm.
You waited around. They interviewed you. They gave you the paperwork.
Yeah.
Then they checked in with your boss to
Right.
see what was the storyline. Did you actually get laid off? Did you fuck the company over? Did you quit?
Mm-hmm.
And if you quit, you don't get anything. If they
Right.
can prove that you did something detrimental to the
Then you don't
company,
get anything
then you
either.
don't get
Yep.
anything as well. And then they would send you a paper in the mail every 2 weeks, and you would say, "Did I look for work? Yes. Did you
Mhm.
do this? Yes, yes, yes. No, whatever." Then they would say, "Where did you go to look for work?" And you'd have to list places that you went. You'd have to list at least 4 or 5
It's a
places.
full-time job in itself.
Full-time job into itself.
So it's
And
like,
then
why
and
even
then-
get it?
Yeah, and they would verify it. They would check
Yeah.
to see if in fact you did go to
Mhm.
these places.
Wow.
Then you'd get your check. Then with your check attached would come another questionnaire, same questionnaire. Today it's totally
Did you
different. Now
apply?
you just get on the phone, you call them up, you tell them this,
Yeah.
They talk to you on the phone. You don't even go down there anymore.
No, it was
now
all
you get a
digital
card?
online. And you're supposed to. Well, I'm supposed to get a card.
Wow.
So what came in the mail was an optional. It says, you qualify for either getting a debit card, and they'll put money on
Wow.
the card every week, or you can get a check in the mail. But I haven't seen anything. So
Well, it hasn't. How long has it
I
been?
was gonna say,
3
how-
weeks.
I would call.
Yeah,
I would get on the phone
I would
and call.
call them. This
And
is
I would
really-
call early in the morning. If they open
Mhm.
a date, get on the line about 7:45 and wait in the queue, and then you'll get on a date instead of waiting all day.
Because say for instance, I have say for instance, I'm waiting for that. Say I'm applying for work and other jobs, but that takes maybe a week or two, and you got to go through an interview,
And that's
then get
changing
hired,
too.
and then you don't
Yeah.
get your paycheck till maybe 2 weeks after if it's
Correct.
bi-weekly.
Correct.
So I might be out a whole entire month before.
No, but you'll get it paid through unemployment.
Oh, you'll
have
get
to-
it. It's just
What?
Yeah,
you'll
you'll get paid. Just even when you start your job, you'll still get paid up until the point where you actually
Where
started
you actually
working.
started your job.
Oh,
Yeah,
And you could talk
it'll
to
still
yeah.
be paid.
Yeah, you'll still get your money.
oh,
But I would call. 3
It
weeks
just
seems
takes
like a
forever.
long
It
time.
does.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn, that's so disencouraging. It makes me not want to go through all that BS.
It makes me want to have a
Well-
job. You know,
Well, it's by design. It's by design.
like it's on purpose to
Absolutely,
make
yeah.
it so that you're all like flustered.
And,
You just
and-
don't
and
want to.
one of the main reasons I asked you about everything, given your success just as a family and such, in terms of being fiscally responsible, is because I read a book called Capital by Thomas Piketty, and he essentially provides all this evidence that no one person could ever out earn the economy and inflation. So that's why investments
true.
are a necessity.
Wait, what do you
That is
mean?
true.
Out earn?
Yeah, no
Wait,
matter
I-
how much you're earning, you'll never beat the rate of inflation, and that's why you need to have investments.
Correct. And
Mm.
wages are flat for so many, I don't know, for the last 10, 15 years, wages have got just flat. And,
I'm
everything keeps
confused.
going up and the
Yeah.
wages stay flat.
Right?
So if
Yeah.
you're saying if I was
I mean, it
like
was
a doctor
it
or
was a
something,
crazy book.
And even raising the wage to $15 an hour.
Does nothing.
The reality is,
uh,
You should be
is-
like at 25.
yeah, even if it was 25, you're going to see that everything else that you're buying and everything you're doing in your world has gone up equally.
pretty much.
Mhm.
So technically, you're not really making more money because you're still putting out the same amount.
Mhm.
Right.
The numbers just change.
Mhm.
Right.
Look, I got a great unemployment story.
Yeah.
I'm working for this woman, a beautiful woman, nice person. She had a very nice business. She had expensive clothing,
Yeah.
jackets for $200, a pair of
Mm.
slacks for $175. She sold to all the top stores in the country.
Nordstrom. Right. Yeah.
all the top stores. So I'm there. This is right around the time that I went to the Christina show.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, we should
And-
get into that too.
Yeah.
At some point.
So I come back. I come back and I go to work, and there was some guy. He had orange hair, really strange guy. I mean, I'm not nothing
Was it
personal,
Trump?
but yeah, it was just different. And all of a sudden, I said, "So who is this guy?" And she goes, "Oh, he's your replacement." And I said, "Replacement?
Oh.
I missed something here." She takes me in the office, and she said, "Look, I don't think things are working out so well between, you, me, the business and everything. So when you were gone, I brought this guy in obviously to take your place because you were gone for like a week.
Wow.
And I'm giving you a 1 month notice." I'm sitting there thinking, you're giving me a 1 month notice? That's kind of strange unto itself.
Yeah.
Normally when someone wants to get rid of you, either they
You're
terminate
out.
you on
Yeah.
the spot, see you
Right.
later, alligator,
Uh-huh.
eat shit and die, and you're gone. And in this case, I'm like, 1 month, okay. So I left her office and I get back to work, and then I went back in to see her the next day, and I said, "So if you're letting me go and you're still going to pay me?" She goes, "Yeah, you'll still get your paycheck until you leave." And I said, "So, okay, so what about me looking for work?" She goes, "Yeah, do whatever you want. You want to make phone calls, you want to,
Mhm.
cool." So the month is up, And I leave. And before I left, I was talking to the bookkeeper. And I said, well, technically, you've let me go without really any good reason. So I'm assuming that I'll be able to collect unemployment because you're letting me go and you've hired somebody else and I've done nothing wrong.
Right.
What a joke. She says to me, no problem. You can do that when the forms come in. So I go to unemployment, I opened up my claim.
Mm-hmm.
Then the response comes back. I destroyed her company. I did some horrible things. She had to let me go. And I thought to myself, okay, this is becoming a joke.
Right.
You gave me a month notice. You let me look for work. You paid me for the whole month. But now you're denying my unemployment benefits, saying something totally contrary.
Yeah.
So I appealed. And when I went to the appeal, I had to go to the unemployment office. She had the luxury because, quote unquote, I'm very businesswoman and I'm very busy and I can't really go anywhere. So they let her take the call at her office. And I'm sitting at a desk with the unemployment guy. So they call her up on the phone. And the conversation starts like this. I started the conversation. I said, so tell me, Brian. Her name was Brian. And I said, so tell me, I'm really curious. You gave me a 30-day notice. At no time did you ever tell me I was doing anything detrimental, harmful, or hurtful to your company. You kept me on for the month. You paid me. And then I left. Mm-hmm. And now you're denying my unemployment benefit. Makes no sense at all to me. Can you explain that? And she's stuttering, blah, blah, blah. And the guy sitting next to me is going, oh my God. It's like, you did everything wrong, woman. What are you thinking here?
Yeah.
And so she starts to hedge and haw, and she goes, yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. The guy starts laughing. I start smirking. And I said, okay, I'm done, Brian. Let this gentleman finish the conversation. I got my unemployment. The next week, I got a letter in the mail that my claim has been approved. And I got my unemployment for the next six months. I sat on my ass and laid on my couch and watched TV and drained out all my unemployment. I looked for work, not wholeheartedly, but I looked. And knowing full well that now, because she had to pay this out, her fund, whatever she puts into, is now she's going to have to pay more into it because I took the unemployment. So I gave it right back to her. But how stupid is that?
Right.
So, for every bad adventure like you're having, a bad situation, mine was hilarious. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Who gives you a month notice
What?
and then lets
crazy.
you work and pays you and help you look for work and then turns around and comes up with a bullshit story?
Yeah, they didn't bash me as far as I know in the unemployment scheme, but they know, again, it's all digital and stuff.
Yeah, but you
they
got a
did-
notice stating that you were going to receive
But they do.
it.
They do send out they do send a letter to your past employer,
Mhm.
and they want to know based on what you've said and what they say. So that could be the process. It's slow.
It probably is. And they gave me to finish out the week as a courtesy to finish up whatever major project that I was on. So I wasn't I wasn't holding up anybody else in the department.
Okay, well, that was good.
Yeah.
Speaking of adventures, I think a little known fact that we haven't stated is you actually are a certified magician at the Magic Castle.
I'm not
correct?
certified.
You still perform at the
He's an
Magic
amateur
Castle?
I have not performed yet.
Oh.
I have not actually taken an audition.
Except for
okay.
this, and then woof, out comes like
Yeah.
a dove.
But I have one thing though. Poof, you're all politics.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, hey,
No, aside from,
you didn't have to. You didn't have to do this.
Aside-
We already knew that.
you already knew that, huh?
Yeah,
You knew that
yeah,
was coming.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but aside from that, no, I've taken a lot of classes,
That's what it
Okay.
is. Okay.
and
You're a member of it, actually.
Yeah, I've been a
That's what it
member
is.
for over 8
That's
years.
what it
but
was.
You're interesting.
But I
Okay.
do. But I would have to actually take an audition. I filled out
To get
I've already
bid
filled
about.
out the application. I've
Mhm.
already
It's
read
just sitting
you
there.
several books on magic. I've
Mhm.
taken maybe 30 classes, so I have pretty good idea of what I would do. I just haven't actually sat down and perfected
Right.
2 or 3 different tricks or illusions that I would like to
Sure.
use.
That's
And then all I have to do is just go down there, turn the application in,
Mhm.
and then I'll get an appointment to come in and audition
Right.
in front of the board of directors.
Will be great.
They're all magicians, and they have
nice.
and they audition I believe it's every Monday of the month,
Oh, cool.
and they audition up to maybe 5 or 6 people.
What got you into it? Like, where did it all start for you?
I've always loved magic. I remember some of my first experiences at Disneyland when I was a teenager going to the magic store.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about that, Steve Martin used to hang out there all the time at the magic store.
Mm.
And I bought a few magic kits, never really could figure out how to do them. They were kind of, back in the day, they were, just cups and rings.
They're a
and,
little vanity.
Yeah,
kits.
just silly stuff. And I've always had a fascination with it. And when I was in my senior year in high school, I met somebody who was a magician at the Magic Castle, and they took me up there. And over the years, I had
It's been around that long, huh?
Oh, they've been around this is their 50th anniversary, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of friends that were
Well,
magicians.
that's right. You told me that it was coming out.
Yeah, and I've known people that, through business that were associate members, which is different than a magician member. It's somebody who loves the art of magic and supports the
Oh, okay, cool.
the world
That's
of
what I was
magic.
considering.
Yeah, and
becoming.
so
Because of
for
David?
people like that, that's me. I'm an
Oh,
associate
in general.
member. I love magic, and having been up there so many times through the years, and as I got near retirement, I thought, I need to find some more things to do, and so
You can help support my new business.
right.
You
So
can
I
invest in me.
so I decided to join the Magic Castle.
Okay.
And so
Do you mind me asking what a membership fee is?
I don't know what it is today. It's probably a lot more. It's probably, I know the initial
Oh,
fee.
you're grandfathered into the original fees?
No, I've already been. No, you pay. I pay fees every year. There's
Oh, okay.
the dues are due every January.
Right,
1st.
but you're only on dues. You're not on
Right.
fees
No, I don't
anymore,
pay
right?
the initial fee for setting everything up. Just like when you go somewhere and initially there's a charge,
Yeah.
and then you just pay a monthly fee. So the initial fee back then was $1,000.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is today.
Probably something crazy.
I would
right?
imagine it's higher. Plus today, I understand there's a list of maybe over 150 people that would like to be members. When I joined, there was no list.
Wow.
I turned my application in. They, they screened me. They called me up like 4 days later and said, "Okay, you're good. You're in. Come down. We'll have the initiation or the orientation."
Yeah.
And we went down there, and they gave us dinner, and they walked us around the castle and told us all the different perks and the things that go on. And then every year you pay your membership. And this year the membership, I think, is close to $1,300. And when I first joined, I think it was only maybe $9.
Wow.
So it goes up every year. They have
Yeah.
expenses.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I pay every year, and I love going up there, and I take all my friends, family, and
Yeah.
nothing else. I just like going up there and hanging out. And I know a lot of magicians, and I've met
Yeah.
a lot of people up there. So it's just, it's a nice place to hang.
Yeah, I was considering it like 5 years ago. I looked into it, and I just never got around to actually joining. But it wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, I love going
Look,
up
for
there.
someone like, for you guys that are, young and you're still, building your lives, it's a great way to entertain people.
Yeah, exactly.
You can network with people. It's a nice place because it's a membership only. So it's not like anybody can just go up there and go, "I think I'm going to go to the Magic Castle tonight."
Right.
Yeah,
That
right,
doesn't
exactly.
happen. So the only way you can actually go there is if you know somebody that can get you in,
Uh-huh.
or you're auditioning to be a magician.
Or I
and-
think if you reserve for dinner.
no, you can't even
No?
do that. You need somebody to give you a pass.
Oh.
Or to actually get you there. I have passes. I give out passes all the time,
Oh.
and that's how people that that's how,
cough, cough,
Yeah.
cough, cough, cough.
that's how people normally go up there.
Wow.
I could have. Wow, that's interesting.
Don't you guys have a childhood friend or something? That
Yeah,
became-
David Gabay. He's a
Yeah.
magician.
But I
that's
did hear something recently that they were doing. I had an email from them. Apparently, they hooked up with the Hilton Honors or with
Oh, I
Hilton.
had
They
Hilton
have
Honors,
some
yeah.
kind of a connection there where if you stay at their property, you can
Yeah.
actually get.
Yeah.
That might be what you're thinking, because I just saw this recently. This is new. This was not before, where you can do that.
I have Hilton
And if-
honors. Okay.
Yeah, and if you're staying with Hilton and
Mhm.
then you're somewhere in that area, I think that you can get in for dinner and for an evening, just
Okay.
a one-time deal.
Okay.
Yeah,
got it, got it.
I'm trying to recall the actual person who did tell me that information. I don't think it was David, but I could have sworn that if you went on their website and reserved dinner reservations, that
No.
you can also see the show.
Well, if you go there for dinner, once you get in, you can stay there the whole night
No, that's what I meant. Like
and
once
see
you,
all the shows you want. And
Yeah,
you can,
but it's really pricey to get that dinner
It's
reservation.
really no,
Yeah.
the reservations are nothing. You can get the reservations, but they're expensive.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
they've got this unbelievable tomahawk steak. It's like $75.
Yeah, I had
but-
I think I ate off my friend's plate. It was so I couldn't.
He
afford
said, "I
anything.
think I ate off my friend's plate."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good thing I don't eat beef.
Yeah. Well, even the veggie options and like the salmon and all that stuff. And
Everything's
the chicken
pricey
that I
there.
had was like $35 for this one piece of chicken that was like this big.
But that's standard in any nice restaurant.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. It actually is. I was just at, where were we? We went to this place at LA Live called Rosa Mexicano. It's a Mexican restaurant at LA Live.
The
And-
one on the
yeah.
main street on Olympic.
Yeah, right
On
next to Yard
Olympic,
House.
yeah.
That's
Like,
a,
right
that's
next
a
to Yard
fancy
House.
Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, they have
It
one
really
in
looked
they have one in
fancy.
New York off
Dude,
like
plates are like $35.
Midtown.
Oh, I didn't order food there.
No,
I just
okay.
got drinks.
Yeah, plates are like $35.
Wow.
Like guacamole is like $20.
But
They
they
charge
make
you
it
for
an
the
experience.
guacamole?
Though.
Yeah, it's
Damn.
fun. Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's table side guacamole, so they'll bring the card out.
Oh,
they
that's
make-
right.
they make
That's
it-
why they
they
make
make
it.
it for you.
I've seen them
Yeah.
make it. Yeah.
Yeah, they
that
make
makes
you-
it more expensive. 'cause
Exactly.
they- at your table,
At
rather
the
than bring it direct
Oh
from
yeah,
the kitchen.
I mean, no matter where you go, I think avocados are overpriced. No matter
Yeah.
where you go.
Especially since they grow naturally here in California, don't they? Or
They
it's like
do.
it's easy
They
to
do.
grow them here.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
most avocados come out of Mexico.
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
That's-
crazy.
Wow.
So let's get to your Christina story because you mentioned it earlier. Little background. Mark is my uncle through marriage. He married my mother's sister. So yeah, you take it from there.
Take it from there. Big drum roll.
So
what
you're
an
not-
intro. So basically,
know.
he's my uncle.
He's my uncle
Yeah.
through marriage.
So basically, we
lighter
got,
pigmentation.
we got flown to Florida,
Yeah.
and they put us up for 2 nights, 3 days. They gave us, I think,
They paid for everything?
yeah, they paid for
All
everything.
expense.
Wow.
I think they gave us like $300 each spending money.
Yeah.
Wait, how did you get invited to the show in the first place?
Well, my ex-wife, she was watching the show, and like I had said, they had this topic of people that were so different, and so she called in and she started talking to them. They were very interested in our story, and they basically said, "We'd like to have you on the show."
Oh, I guess the part I'm missing out is what makes the difference. Like, I don't think I've ever met her
Okay.
before, but
No, you've never
Well-
met her. Basically, we are really different. We are different from everything you can think of: age, education, religion.
so it's like an opposites attract.
yeah,
kind of
we are
thing?
definite opposites attract.
Oh,
And so we got flown to Florida,
Mm.
and they put us up in this really nice hotel. And the actual day of the taping, they sent a limousine to pick us up, took us to the studio.
Wow.
We got in there, and they put makeup on us,
Mm.
and ran over everything that we were going to do. They gave me the earpiece,
Right, for the translation.
yeah, for the translation, and then we actually got on the show, and it was what an experience!
A
It
good
was
experience.
A good experience.
Oh,
Oh no,
Oh.
it was like another one of those 15 minutes
Yeah.
of fame.
15 minutes of fame.
Ah.
I think
And-
people fail to understand, just to give context, Christina was coming up around the same time as Oprah,
Uh-huh.
and she was the Latin version
I
of
think
She
I
was
Oprah.
the
know what
Latin
you're talking
version
about.
of
Does she
Oprah.
have blonde
Blonde,
hair?
yeah, the
Yes.
blonde lady.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I watched
Yeah.
her show.
Yes, she actually had it. She actually, I think, had an English version.
Yeah, yeah. At some
Yeah.
point,
for
yeah,
a,
she
season,
did.
Well,
a season or two.
I
here.
didn't care if it was on mute or not, but I thought she was hot, and I thought
Oh, she's
a lot
hot.
of the
Oh, yeah,
guests
no
that she
question.
bring
She's
on were
hot.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know about it anymore, but back
Well,
in the
yeah,
day,
back in the
Christina
day-
was a
back in
look.
the
when I was
day.
younger. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if there's an
Interesting.
inheritance involved, she's still hot to me, you know.
yeah, and it was really cool.
Wow. So I do know
Then
what
after
you're
the
talking
show,
about.
we got to meet. We sat and talked to all
Shook
the people,
hands.
and we
Yeah.
got to meet with her and visit and talk, and then we spent the next day touring. We went on some river tour and saw the beautiful
Nice.
houses, and
It was your first time in Miami.
my first time in Miami.
Wow.
And then we went to Hooters. I'd never been to a
Yeah.
Hooters before.
There was Hooters back then?
Yeah, there was a Hooters
Nowadays,
back
like,
then.
yeah, you're going to Hooters.
Yeah. So it
But
was
back
just-
then, it was like, ooh.
yeah, but it was fun. It was, another interesting experience.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just like my first podcast.
Right.
This
And-
is your
and-
first
Hey.
podcast. Okay. Do you listen to podcasts at all?
I
or
have
ever heard
I've
of?
never listened to one.
Oh.
I know what they are. I did some research. I wanted to understand it more. I'm
Well,
old-
you can
I'm
just
old
listen
school.
to our podcast.
Yeah,
It'll
I'm
give
just
you a
old, I'm
good
just old
insight.
school. So
Yeah.
this is really new for me, but it's fun.
Oh,
It's
okay.
different and cool.
It's
and-
like a private radio show or a radio. It's almost like a radio show anybody can now do or present.
Correct.
Almost like
Correct.
anybody can be a director now with the phone.
on YouTube,
Yeah,
you can
it's
make
an-
anything and upload, and in
Yeah,
2 minutes you're a
distribution.
star.
Yeah.
Uncensored radio show.
Yeah,
and ours
uncensored
is
radio.
the
Uncensored radio.
most uncensored of all
Oh, yeah.
uncensored.
And speaking of
Unless
censorship,
there's kids on.
you've taken several amazing trips, and one of those was out to China specifically,
correct.
right?
Wait,
And-
what?
correct.
Speaking of censorship, yeah.
Oh,
that's very
censor.
nice.
Oh, censorship.
Because everything in
Yeah.
China is censored.
And
What-
some of the pictures that you shared with me, it just looked. I mean, it looks like an amazing fucking place, man.
It's an amazing country.
You went to
Um,
like the back part of China or like Hong Kong or
Oh
something?
no, I was in China.
Oh,
I went to
okay.
the Great Wall of China. Walked
Oh.
around for a couple hours.
Nice.
Another trip, I went to go see the terracotta soldiers
Ooh.
in
cool.
Xi'an.
How close can you get to those things?
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close. I was able to walk along a railing, and you could, see them like where you guys are sitting.
Wow.
Did they look? I mean,
It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just to think that someone actually built that,
No, what's more amazing is just the country is really old, and
Yeah,
what
Joe,
people-
that's not amazing at all. Fuck whatever you were talking about.
Yeah. What people don't understand though is China is an ancient country where they had emperors. So it's not like the modern world today. And for 2,000 or 3,000 years, emperors controlled everything, and then you had all the different levels of the people from
serfs and all that.
serfs and all the way down the road, and they had, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 10, 13 emperors over all these thousands of years.
Long after Rome.
So they developed
Yeah.
differently than we did.
It was different the way their country was, and then it wasn't until like the 40s and the 50s that Mao came along, and the whole revolution,
changed
and
it,
a lot
yeah.
of people died. And
white people came along.
no, not in China. Not in China.
Not in China.
Trust me, not in China.
Yeah.
No tiki, no washi. No, but serious. So all these emperors had, they had these beautiful things that they built in their memory, just like in Egypt,
Egypt,
where
yeah.
where the Egyptians built the pyramids to enclose their bodies. In China,
Right.
they had all these different mausoleums and things that they built. So this one emperor decided that in the afterlife, he wanted to be protected.
With his army.
So
yeah.
he thought, I'll build an army. And so he built this army of terracotta soldiers
Wow.
that protected him. But what's more interesting is some of these emperors, you don't even know where they're actually buried. We actually went to this one site, and this was after we'd seen the terracotta soldiers. And there's this one site where somewhere on a hillside where he's buried. And what the story goes is that the people that took the emperor and buried him, they were all killed. So nobody would be able to talk
Holy
and tell you where he
shit.
was buried. So he's basically somewhere on this hillside. There's other things to hit in his name that are there, but not the actual burial site. For
Damn.
that particular,
shit.
that
That's some
particular
crazy
emperor.
shit about
My
humans
curiosity-
and the
Yeah.
power and the mentality of that we have. Because we would think, all those Roman and Egyptians are doing some wild shit. But then we hear something like this.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and China's a very old country, but the most amazing thing is the politics, because I was able to read 2 English edition newspapers of the Chinese paper, and you would see stories how they would talk about the world that you and I don't see here.
Right.
Yeah.
I would see stories of North Korea. You'd see stories about Venezuela and all these countries that we don't have any
that we don't
relation-
have the access to.
that we don't
right.
have access to. So you would see all the things they're talking about and the political stuff and how they even think about this country. And
Really?
you'd read stories about what they talked about the politicians and
Anything
and
curious? Anything that stood out for you?
not really stood out, but what I think what stood out for me more was on the first time I was there, and I went to the Great Wall and I went to Tiananmen Square.
Right.
And you're familiar with the
of course.
Yeah,
with
of
all the
course.
history of the Tiananmen Square. And our tour guide, I would walk with him alone. I would make sure that I was separate because I wanted to ask him questions.
Huh.
Right.
That he wouldn't.
And I asked him questions about Tiananmen Square. And he was very hesitant. He looked to the right, to the left. He kept looking around because he
course.
he was
Yeah,
scared.
yeah.
And then he told me I was a student when Tiananmen Square happened. He was at the university where Tiananmen Square started.
Huh.
And then they all gravitated to Tiananmen Square. And he said he was actually there, but he was not part of it. But he started talking about it. Then he stopped. And then he said, I think I've said enough.
Wow.
But he said a lot,
Damn.
and he shared some of his insight. And it's just amazing. I was walking through this history. And then I also went to pay my respects to Mao Zedong.
Okay.
He had this big, beautiful mausoleum, and you went inside. And before you went inside, you bought flowers. Everybody bought flowers. And it was a beautiful bushel of white flowers. And you'd go inside. And if you've ever seen the Lincoln Memorial, okay, it's kind of like that. You go inside, and there's a big, giant, statuesque thing of Mao Zedong, and people put their flowers down. If I tell you there was 10,000 bushels of flowers there was 20.
Okay.
And then they would just get rid of them, and another 10,000. Every single person that came in paid
Had
their
to do
respect,
it.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
Yeah.
And then you start to walk single file, and I'm talking to my girlfriend, shh, and the guards are going, shh, single file, shh. And you walk inside, and there he is laying in state. Now, I don't know if it's him or not, but there was a body there, and it looked like him. I'm not really sure exactly what I was seeing, if it was real or not. I'm assuming it was. But then you walk through single file, very quietly paying your respects to Mao Zedong. So I did that as well.
Okay.
And then just, aside from the politics, it's an amazing country. They've come so far since the revolution. And we went on a bullet train from her hometown to Beijing, a 5-hour train ride.
Oh, cool.
And they serve food and seemed like every 15, 20 minutes looking out the window, you see another, 15, 20 huge towers of apartment buildings. I've never seen so many apartment buildings and places where people live. I mean, this is a country where they have super cities that hold like 1.6 million people, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 50 million, 100 million. I mean,
New York doesn't even compare.
It doesn't even compare. You're talking about a country that's probably over 1.5 billion people.
Jesus.
And they have super cities that, are maybe 500 million people.
Is the other parts of China just not occupiable?
It's occupiable.
By
They're making progress, but there are some.
It's a big place
it's
that
a big
they can
place.
spread out.
There's a lot of poverty still.
Yeah.
But you don't see it. It's out in the countryside, and you have people that are living in dirt, people eating off the land, people that don't even have shoes. And then you come to, inside China, some of the nicer areas, and you see these beautiful homes and restaurants. They have thousands of restaurants. I went to a mall to go see a movie. All the movies are in 3D. All the movies have reserved seats. They have just beautiful concession stands, and the mall. You walk in the mall. I think we went to that mall for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at least 4 times, and I went to a different restaurant every single day.
That's crazy.
Never saw one level alone. There's like 15 restaurants. They have mall after mall after mall. There's we went down this one street. I must have seen 15 malls.
Yeah.
And each one was probably 3 times the size of the Northridge Mall. Any of the mall I've ever seen in this country. 4, 5, 6 stories high. They could just go deep for, it feels like a mile, but not literally. But
so I take it the nightlife is amazing out there.
The nightlife's amazing. They don't really go to bars. They don't really drink.
Really?
They go to the baths. They have like these big bathhouses, and people go there and they socialize. It's like it's a social system. And then we went to this one park, and there were all these older senior citizens, and they're all wearing the same color outfits. And they're doing all kinds of exercises to music. They're bopping to the music, going right, left, up and down, this way and that way. And that's what they do. And then you have kids on rollerblades. You have kids riding bikes. And people spend their outdoor. They don't do like we do here. They don't sit in their house watching TV, rotting away on the couch. They go out and they're actually doing things, physical things. And it's just amazing. And, between the food, we walked down some of these places, and there were foods. I don't even know what the hell I was looking at. And she said, try it. So I'm trying it. I'm eating all this stuff. I have an iron stomach. I never get sick.
Okay.
I can eat pretty much everything. Plus, before I went, I got inoculated for everything, including typhus. I took a 5-day regimen, a live dose, a dead, and a live dose. And I got all kinds of shots. So I wasn't fearful of anything. I never got sick.
Do people get shots to come into the United States?
Yes.
They do?
I think you do. I think.
All I've heard is people getting a shit ton of shots to go to any other country, even like into Europe.
You do. You do. You
Yeah.
So you get a lot of shots.
That's so crazy.
But it's just, it's an amazing place. I mean, between the politics, seeing the things that you don't see here.
Culture shocks, right?
Culture shock, and all the amazing food.
Did you do karaoke out there?
No, did not do karaoke. I don't even do karaoke here.
He was like, karaoke is not me.
I know though, China has like a huge population problem, and I can't remember what I was watching recently, but they were saying that the male to woman ratio right now, it's like
it's
millions. 34. I think it was like 34 million men over women.
There's a big gap. There's a lot of men that don't have wives and they'll probably never get married. I don't think it's the same number you're talking about.
Okay.
It could be, but I did see a number where it was like in the thousands, like 40, 50,000 or something, where there's no women to marry.
Yeah, because
within their own community, or
that's because there's some guy out there with 7
a lot
women.
of pockets
in the whole
pockets.
in the population.
Okay, because does that mean like there's no interest in people?
Well, that's the thing though. For the longest time, you couldn't have more than one child.
Yes, they just
changed that like 5 years ago.
The population is aging so fast now; they're dying off, and so they have to do something to.
Or else America will come
in and take it over.
Plus, they retire you early there. If you're a woman, you might be retired at age 50. But think about this. You've got 1.4 billion people, and you stay on your job till you're 60 or 70, like we do in this country. Where are they going to have jobs? So people have to be pushed out. Men don't even last till maybe 60. Maybe. So it's, it's real different as far as that.
Right.
Plus, it's just an amazing place. I mean, everywhere you go, you're looking at history.
Right.
You see old history, new history.
Mm.
When we were in Sion, we stayed at this hotel that was in the middle of the city, and there was a wall that surrounded the city. And it was almost like the Great Wall of China, but it was in much better condition. And it was probably about, I don't know, half a mile wide on the top. You could ride bikes, you can walk, and it enclosed the whole city. So there was 4 entrances, north, south, east, and west. You'd come in through an arch into the city, and they would have all these old, the bell tower, the drum tower. And then right there's a modern hotel, and next to that's a house that might have been there for 2,000 years. I mean, it's just, it's just
Fortress. It was just,
yeah. You see the modern world and the ancient world all blending together.
Oh, cool.
And
it's not even remotely close to something like that you'll see like
Out here.
where the first 13 colonies were. Like
exactly.
you
Totally
know,
different.
it's
We're only
nothing like that.
200
Yeah,
years
exactly.
old, barely.
We're talking thousands.
We're
of
talking
years.
thousands of years.
It's like when you go out to England, when you go into Europe, you see a bunch of
Same
the
thing.
old and
The
the
Gothic
new
and
mix.
Same
the-
thing.
yeah.
You see a lot
Have
of
you
old
been
stuff.
to Europe or Egypt
I've been
or
to
any
Europe.
of those places?
I've been through Europe too.
Okay.
I've been through maybe 20 countries.
Wow.
Been to
Very
Japan,
nice.
Canada, Mexico.
Hmm. Did you do any adventuring, looking for buried treasure anywhere?
No,
Indiana Jones style?
but when I was in Italy, I got to go to the Colosseum,
Oh, cool.
and I
Very
actually got
nice.
to go all the way to the bottom of the Colosseum.
Ooh.
In those days, nothing was chained off yet.
Right.
And it was pretty much open. So I,
I
went
know,
to the very
God, that
bottom,
sucks.
and I laid down and looked up, and I thought, oh my God, I can just see all the Christians screaming and yelling
The blood
as the
flowing.
lion comes into the den with his gladiator.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, how amazing this history is.
Yeah.
And I went to some places that it's hard to describe because I've been here before. I believe in the afterlife.
I
I
see
think
what you
we
mean.
come
Okay.
back like
Resurrection.
reincarnation.
Yeah.
And I went into several places, including the Cathedral of Notre Dame,
Mm.
and I got these chills. Like, I think I've been here before. This is not my first time.
Oh, okay.
And I went to the Dome of the Rock
Mm.
in Jerusalem. I went to the Wailing Wall. I went to Bethlehem. I went to places, and I felt like I've been here before. Like,
Now,
this is not my first roundup.
Did you pick these places because you
No.
personally wanted to, or
No,
somebody
no.
else?
I went
told-
with my
oh.
dad the first time. My dad and I
okay.
never really got along, and I was very rebellious
Mm.
teenager, and I had long hair back then too, and I was very rebellious. And so my dad said, why don't we take a trip? I said, okay, where to? And he goes, we'll go to Europe.
Damn, my parents
And,
never.
and we went
Go to Chino.
the Mercedes-Benz factory in Stuttgart, Germany,
Okay.
and picked up a brand new Mercedes and,
Wow.
took,
What?
and took off from there. And we drove around Europe for about 3.5 weeks.
What,
No
did,
big
what
deal.
did your dad do? What was his occupation?
My dad was a clothing manufacturer,
Oh,
He said that earlier, Keenan.
but he was really
what's,
successful.
I mean, he could.
He had several companies. One of them went from 0 to $8 million the first year. He had another company that within 4 years they were doing $36 million.
Amazing.
So there were some, pretty successful companies. And that's where I got a lot of my business experience working in shipping, receiving, sales, all the various parts of it. I can do pretty much everything in that industry. So we had a lot of fun. We drove to some interesting places. We went across the Berlin Wall.
Oh wow.
Before it was taken down?
Before it was taken down, we crossed from West Germany through the Democratic Republic of East Germany, staying on one road, couldn't divert, couldn't get
Right.
off. We had to change license plates. We had to take in their Democratic Republic of East Germany marks, which were worth absolutely nothing.
Worth nothing outside.
And then we crossed through Checkpoint Charlie, which you probably have heard of. That was one of the major checkpoints after World War II that was established to go into East Berlin.
Wow.
And so we crossed from East Berlin into West Berlin. And I remember seeing machine gun towers with real people in them, the metal things in the road, and,
Oh,
and
wow.
all kinds of barriers, and who knows if there was explosives. I would have
Like
imagined.
still mines on.
Yeah, I would imagine there probably was. And we were crossing over, and of course I was young, stupid, and I go, wow, this is cool. And that's my suitcase. So they took my suitcase, flipped it upside down, searched everything. They even cut the seats in the car. And they cut the seats a little to look
Brand new.
inside.
Wow.
Yeah, just to see what we were doing. They were just being assholes.
Damn.
And then when we got into West Berlin, we had to switch our plates again and give back the East Germany place, take our. And then I remember going in there, and I went to a restaurant to get something to eat. And this was on the East German side. And sat in this restaurant for about an hour and a half. Nobody there. The display case had some pastries. And I said, I want some pastries. I wanted to get rid of the money because it was not worth anything.
Yeah.
And for an hour and a half, I'm sitting there with this girl I met. And finally they waited on us. And then I came to the realization with some talking to other people that there's no motivation. Everyone's the same. Y'all earn the same. Y'all do the same. It's a socialist country. It's communism. Hell, I was in my dad's country in Hungary. And everywhere I went, they had busts of Lenin on their TVs. And my dad said, just be careful what you say. Don't say anything. Like the walls have ears. And I mailed letters and cards back home from some of these countries. And everything was blacked out. There was hardly anything there. My friend says, why'd you even bother sending this to me when you were going to black? I didn't black anything out. Everything was censored. They read everything before it left the country. They did the censoring.
Damn.
And then it got to here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we complain about our.
Oh, hell, I went into a club one night with my cousin, and all of a sudden the place went silent. And I go, what the hell's going on? He goes, shh, don't say anything. And then came the secret police.
Wow.
And they came around asking questions. Then they came to my table and they started asking me all kinds of questions. Where's my passport? Where am I from? What am I doing here? ... And I went, oh my God, I was going to get arrested. But my cousin kind of talked his way out of it and said, okay, he's here visiting. His passport's at the house. We can go get it. We're like 10 minutes from here. But yeah.
It definitely makes it sound like we're in a bubble here in America with all that stuff.
This is such a different world from some of the places that I've been in. The things that I've seen places that look like the war just ended yesterday. I mean,
Damn.
I mean, some places still have a war happening. So
and some places still have a war happening.
It's fucking crazy.
It's just because they don't have a central bank there yet, But that's a whole different topic.
No ATMs yet or Starbucks.
Yeah.
Once you see that, you're good. Or I mean,
you're good.
Or Jamba.
What the perception of good is, because it's not the same anymore.
That's crazy, man. So I recall a time that I was hanging out with you, and you let me borrow like one of your books that your dad actually wrote, which was a fascinating history of just how much sacrifice was made, and how much community mattered.
Community in the old times mattered. People
much.
Yeah, people had communities. People cared. The world has changed so much.
Wealth was redistributed amongst each other to help, of course, everybody worked hard.
Everybody worked hard.
But see, there's no internet. There's no cell phones.
There was nothing. It was totally different.
You
had to rely on each other.
I mean, you mailed a letter and you could wait a week for a letter to get there. And, it was just different. Today, you pick up your laptop and in 2 seconds you send an email and it's there and within a split second, and you can talk to anybody anywhere at any point.
So it's almost bound to happen regardless. Once the technology started to grow,
of course,
it automatically meant people would start to distance themselves.
Exactly.
That's why I'm glad I'm part of like a group like you guys,
TSG and all that stuff too.
I wasn't going there, but yeah.
No, it's a big community.
No, yeah, it is. But the fact that we have this show and we're able to talk all the time,
we meet regularly.
We meet regularly, and
I mean that's part of the reason I had joined Freemasonry for a while before I walked away from it, was because I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Is
probably
this something bigger?
Same reason you joined the Magic Castle. Probably also it's about being
same with TSG for
it's
me.
like family.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have
like a family.
shit.
There's
us. What are you talking about?
One of the it's important, right? It's important to be able to be a part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely.
There's something
that we need.
There's something to the psyche of being human that it fulfills.
But as technology is starting to, become more easy access and abundant, that may or may not be lost. I mean, we're
that's why you
starting
have to find the counter.
We're searching for it, but then maybe in the future, a lot of those communities that we're searching for will go to the digital age as well. VR, whatnot. Who knows? I don't know, whatever it is. Whatever the new
virtual
thing will be.
reality, that's going to be a thing, man.
And then you're meeting people
Headset.
and doing stuff in a headset and not in person.
It's becoming impersonalized.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like
Absolutely.
that's why social media for me is like it's horrible.
That's why we need aliens to come so we can bound together.
I just read an article the other day. Some scientist or something said that he knew there was life on Mars 40 years ago, and they're starting to find some of that now. They're starting to find all these.
You mean like organisms or microorganisms?
Well, they're finding runes that look like some of the runes here, like what might have been oceans and things. So there's
what
he's big on aliens. And
I mean like I don't know if I can release. Okay, a certain someone, high ranking, that I ran into and had a conversation with, Look, I'm keeping this as vague as possible because I'm also trying to get a job from them. But they gave me some information about, we were just shooting the shit on expeditions out in space. And they mentioned that they found or seen some holes or craters in the moon, but the craters are cylindrical. So like as if somebody drilled into the
cut
moon,
into them, yeah.
but they're huge, like huge.
I believe it.
Yeah.
China just landed.
Like it's too perfect.
And yeah, so I'm like, I mentioned it like, oh, it's like it could have been somebody drilled into it. And they kind of nod their head. They didn't say anything, but it's like, whoa, I just gotten some serious information that's like.
And you kind of just stared at each other quietly. Just
yeah. You were saying China did
No, I was going to say China just landed on the moon. On the dark side of the moon. Not the lit side. And
so we haven't done that, huh?
No, we haven't done that.
Or we're not releasing information saying what's on there.
Yeah, but they're releasing a little, and they're finding some really interesting things. Plus, I think they just grew some kind of plant that I just saw a couple days ago on the news.
Well, I mean, China's doing a whole bunch of stuff,
they
but
grew
us
a plant
not being incubated.
Yeah, us as America is not released. So China's doing a whole bunch of great shit on the moon, but we're not telling them that we're not admitting what China's doing as far as America's concerned. America's
because it would be bad political news.
Yeah, because we're not doing it.
Yeah, because we're not doing it.
We're not doing very much as a country. I really think we're not.
Used to be a country, and this is something else when I remember growing up. We were a country, we made TVs, we made cars, we made stereos. You had RCA, you had Zenith, you had a lot of big companies.
I remember Zenith.
Yeah, that made all this stuff. And today, what do we have today? Cars come from another country.
We have SpaceX.
We get all of our stereos, TVs, and everything from other countries.
We have social media influencers.
We have social media. We don't do anything. We don't make anything. We don't build anything. We depend on
nothing tangible. Yeah,
nothing tangible.
Everything's digital. Everything we create is digital.
That's when you ask.
And we don't even have the brain power. We bring in brain power from other countries.
That's true.
You know,
or they come here. Yeah.
Well, they come here, but we also bring them here. We invite them.
Yeah.
We allow them to come. Because we don't have the brain power to do it, and yet we have brain power here.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And then they come here and they educate themselves. They learn about all these things. We teach them all this wonderful stuff, and then a lot of them go back to their own countries and take all this knowledge and apply it somewhere else. Don't even apply it here.
And because it's also liberally applied out there, whereas here it's like, well, wait, this might destabilize. Like, for example, fossil fuels. If we cut into their pay now, it's a problem, but we've had the technology to go green years ago, but it would destabilize a lot of economies. It'd be a redistribution of wealth. And that's why I think a lot of people who do learn here eventually go, well, fuck this. Like,
they're like, I'm done. I'm out of here.
Or their country gives them more incentive to go back.
It's a shame because I think that war is also an outdated business model because it is. Let no mistake be made, a business model.
It's a business.
Absolutely.
It's an absolute business.
And right now it's really, I mean, we're running out of places to bomb. you know what I mean?
Thank you.
We really are. And when that happens, and everyone sees that there's really no point for it because
and then our economy will tank.
Exactly. Because that's all we have.
Our economy thrived so much during the 60s and the 70s with Vietnam and all these wars that we put ourselves into, and that's big business.
Oh yeah. It's the only thing that we're creating.
That's the only thing we're creating.
Iron Man, Tony Stark.
Thank you.
That's what we're doing.
Thank you.
That's what we're
doing.
That's a very
good point.
That is
a very good point.
And when we start running out of shit to bomb and people to hurt, and everyone realizes that we've had all, because there's an author, Yuval Noah Harari, he wrote a book, Sapiens, and then he wrote Homo Deus, right? And it was a fascinating read all the way through to both volumes. He wrote another one, but it's not relevant. And what he said is, right now, any famine or war is less out of necessity and more out of political reason. We literally have enough to feed everybody in the world.
It's all political.
Yeah. All disease is no longer something like, there's very few, far, and like minimal things. It's all contained if it does exist, but really we have no excuse for poor health.
We don't.
Or anything. Literally, education, it's lighting. Everything is political right now. Any sort of hurt in the world is political right now. It's not necessary. Pain is no longer necessary beyond our own undeveloped character. And that's the saddest fucking truth to know.
It's very sad.
And as somebody who, you've been able to see the world change so much, I'm sure that this doesn't land on deaf ears where it's like, what do you imagine the future might hold? Are you afraid for your grandchildren, let's say, or
the future scares me. It really does, because we're fucking it up and we're destroying the planet. And look at all the stuff going on that people are saying there's no climate problem. Did you just see the other day, I think it was in Wyoming or Dakota, and in the morning the temperature was like 80 degrees, and then 5-6 hours later it dropped to 7 below and they had snow.
Yeah.
Colorado had the same thing, I think, just a couple days ago.
Yeah, they did.
We've yet to
it
go
was
through our
mild
winter.
temperatures in the middle of the day that all of a sudden, out of nowhere,
Yeah.
the temperatures drop and it's snowing. There's 2 feet of snow
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
ground. Now, how weird is that in October?
Yeah, a friend of mine was
So-
just in Colorado and that happened. They were like, "Yo, it was only like 80 degrees this morning,"
Mm.
and then all of a sudden there was snow.
So yeah, there's some weird shit going on. It's scary. It does. It scares me.
How much of it is weather manipulation?
You're talking about
I mean, there was probably a point in time where they
Sickness
used it for
and-
war, but I think really, the problem really is just we've destabilized the natural resources that we have.
I can't remember the name of it anymore.
What?
It's
Chemtrails?
No, it's a government program where
HARP?
That's
Yeah,
it.
microwave radiation.
That's
waves.
why we had that whole earthquake on July 4th and everything.
Same thing with we hit Japan with it.
They've got earthquakes in the middle of this country, which I never even knew existed.
right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
technically, in the middle of this country is a ridiculously huge volcano. So once that
Oh, in
goes,
Yosemite.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah. So I mean, that can easily take us all out.
Damn.
Way to bring it down,
And
Keenan.
then-
No.
You know the crazy part about that is that we don't even think of that as destroying us immediately. It's like we dismiss it, but it could happen
It covers more than
in any
three
second,
quarters.
you know?
1/3 of the country. Like it's all from
That's how big the volcano is.
Washington to Texas.
Holy
Yeah,
shit!
yeah, there's a lot of volcanoes.
That's
And then not to
crazy.
mention Los Angeles alone has this big fault line.
Oh,
I
hell
mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the volcano goes off and rocks everything so hard that the fault
Yeah,
line
it
cracks the
ignites-
rest of California?
And then fills up with water.
Woo!
I mean, talk about Mother Nature putting in some safety clauses just in case its creation gets out of control. You know what I mean?
You're like, yo,
Yeah.
so just in case these humans fuck it up, we're gonna destroy them like this.
Little
mean,
snap.
a lot like you, I believe in
snap, yeah.
reincarnation a lot,
Literally.
and I mean, I don't know where you are now, but how many moments have you lived where you really felt like, wow, this is all happening for a reason?
Many times. I've had dreams of places that I had never been. And then I go there and then I go, oh my God.
Wow.
I've been to places where I had a vision of a kitchen going up the back stairs. And then I got there and we pull in the driveway and we're going up the back stairs right into the kitchen.
Mm.
And I go, whoa, I had a dream like this like last week.
Do you consider that deja vu of some sort? Or is that totally different than what you're?
Deja vu is like, yeah.
Because I've heard two different variations.
It's a
One,
glitch in
either
the
dream, glitch, or you dream it, then it happens, or you've actually really experienced it and you just re-experience it over again, or a vision of some
feeling.
No,
sort.
this was a first time. These were first time visions.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I've had people come to me in my dreams that have died
Mm.
Wow.
and have come to talk to me to say
Yeah.
goodbye, and then the next day I find out they died during the night.
Oh,
So yeah, I've had
Yeah.
I've had visions like that. I've had visions of being places, just like when I was in Europe and some other places where I felt I was here before. I know all this. This is not new for me, and that's when I started believing in reincarnation and that we've been here
Okay.
before, and can't really explain it. It's just a feeling.
Some things really in life just can't be explained.
but see,
There's
that
a-
would
there's a lot of
super
things that
suck
can't be
because that
explained.
means you can't go anywhere else in the universe. You just come back here.
No,
We have
well,
a big
then
ass.
there's the idea of karmic cycles and being able to
Oh,
learn
there's
your
other stuff?
Yeah, learn
You don't
your
just
lessons.
get replaced back here.
No,
Okay.
there's a lot of studies like there's part of like there's chapters of like Freemasonry that study specifically that esoteric stuff and even things that are aligned close to it but not exactly Freemasonry. And it's about like
Oh.
going through the levels of helping the evolution of humanity.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Because when they ask you, when you get reincarnated, or if you believe in that, what would you like to come back as? It's like, there's a big ass universe out there. I want to go in some other place, not come back here.
That's an interesting concept. I never really thought about it like that.
That
You could end up somewhere else.
Well,
in the
there's
world.
there's the idea
universe.
that there's the idea that all the circumstances you're currently facing, your soul had asked for, because that's what they wanted to work on this time around.
I was like, I don't want any of this
No,
shit.
and
My
you
soul-
think that
I'm about to talk to my soul. I don't want to be broke.
You think that, but
Yeah.
there are lessons to be learned in those things, and sometimes you may be the only person of your type and your caliber and your essence that can shift the balance for whatever it is, the experience you chose to have. It's like super meta,
Okay.
but suffice it to
Super
say that
meta.
everything is happening exactly the way you wanted to prior to coming here. Like the idea
I've
behind,
heard of that.
and I'll tell
concept
you
before.
what happened. Okay, I'll tell
Mhm.
just one story that I rarely tell people. Prior to becoming a Freemason, I was interested in visiting this place called the Philosophical Research Society over in Los Feliz, just founded by a man named Manly P. Hall. Him and a couple of colleagues got together, and he was claimed to be born remembering, which is why he was so prolific and wrote so many books. They weren't considered professorial type of books where like they had academic backing because he didn't cite a lot of his sources, but anybody who's ever read his shit generally tends to give it
Believe
support.
it.
Yeah. And so since then, the person who was the president at that time had also gotten his PhD from the Philosophical Research Society in reincarnation. And when I applied to be able to visit the library, because they have rare books, they're essentially trying to rebuild the Library of Alexandria there.
Mhm.
They had only agreed to let me in because there was some Prince Hall Masons, which is a black division of Masonry. And Prince Hall should really be taught in school, but he's not. But he was a free man who helped during the American Revolution.
Yeah. He was the guy that took a ship, right?
Mhm.
And he would transport slaves undercover and stuff. Yeah.
So these guys were renting out the library to hold a meeting. And so what happening is they said the reason why they allowed me to come in, because that was the only reason I was able to be there, is because they don't believe in mistakes, right? So when I show up, you have to get a book and choose what you want to read, because it's not a free library where you just pick books out. And whatever book I landed on all these topics, and I was like, oh, reincarnation. Let me see what that's all about, right? And the book that I got, I'm listening to the Masons talk, and they're busy discussing why a circle is a square, which whatever, at the time I had no idea what that meant. And then the president comes into the library and he's like, so what book did you choose? He said, reincarnation. It's fascinating. He's like, yep, that's what I wrote my book in, and that's what Manly P. Hall was really big on. And essentially, yeah, their whole belief is that your soul chooses it sees the whole life and what's going to be. This is determinism at this point, right? But they believe that your soul sees your entire life play out and says, yep, that's a lesson that needs to be learned for the completion of my evolution. Because the understanding is that we have, as a species, evolved as far as we can with instinct and basic automatic processes.
Mhm.
And now it's where we have to we are alive to the degree that we consciously choose every moment of our lives. Think of how hard that is to consciously be present at all times.
That's how I live my life.
And
bro.
that,
What are
and
you
that,
talking about?
and only that will continue to further evolve us. There's a golden mean, and the universe kills indiscriminately, right? It just kills just based on an average, right? And most people who just decide they just want to live on the autopilot, well, they're no longer necessary for the evolution of the species. But the people with the stronger will, the stronger drive to be conscious about what they're doing and to create with purpose, those are the ones that are now furthering the evolution of the species, according to a whole study of reincarnation and all these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another concept for reincarnation for me is looking at all the people in the world that are the gifted, young people that are gifted musicians, that are intellectuals, kids that go to college at 13.
Right.
Yeah.
I think to myself, they're involuntary reincarnated.
Yeah.
They're not really sure where they came from, but they definitely have been here
Savants.
before, and now they take it to this next level.
Mhm.
And that's where all these people come from. That's where you see all
Yeah.
these, and in every country, everyone has them. you read about them all the time.
Mhm.
You know, gifted musicians, intellectual people that
Elon
know,
Musk is probably one of those people, man.
yeah, and so you have to wonder what part of reincarnation does that play.
Well,
Right.
how is there a particular reason why a lot of these people who are gifted, who may
Have
fall under that
reincarnated.
category, do not remember at all?
Absolutely.
Like, is it purposely or wasteful, or
I would believe so.
There's a fascinating novel written by Anne Brashares, I believe, called My Name is Memory, that gives it's fantastical and it's not real, but it illustrates a concept of a love story that doesn't start out as a love story. It's actually, the opening scene is a soldier way back in some time with like a blade or whatever that lights a hut on fire, and as he's lighting the hut, makes contact with a little girl, eye contact, and from that scene, right, those two souls are met in the next lifetime, where that girl is the wife of his brother, and then that lifetime goes into another lifetime where now they're both high school students.
So it's kind of
But
like
only he
the movie
remembers.
Hancock.
Yeah, but only he remembers her.
Wow.
And then he finds out that his brother who also follows him along who becomes different roles or whatever, but that he also remembers, but that he has evil intent behind his remembering. It's a fascinating story, but suffice to say that like up to a certain age of 3, I think that she was saying, and the age of 3 is right before the age of 3, kids no longer can remember their past lives, but up to the age of 3. But before that, they're connected to all the things, and that's why it's all
the innocence.
One. Yeah.
The innocence that they retain that allows them. That's crazy. That's
and
crazy
if you try to
theory.
think back to when you were 3, I mean, at least when I was 3, everything was kind of like a buzz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was all a buzz. I used to just
I don't
sit
remember
and stare
shit
at like
before
I used to sit and like just stare at, like, I would close my eyes and I would see. It sounds crazy. I've never told anyone this. I would close my eyes and see like stars, like a galaxy when I was a kid, and I was so into it that I'd be there for a while, and then I'd open my eyes and be like, okay, well, I mean, at this point, I'm just killing time. But I could do that, and I would be going somewhere. I don't even know where. It wasn't a thought that I had, but it was a journey I was taking.
It reminds me of like, I say this all the time, but I'm a consumer, right? So I consume media, I consume, products. I love just buying things.
You have every subscription to every
subscription to everything, and I think that's my connection to other lives. Like, I can watch a movie and really be invested in the movie, in the characters, and live that and have that feeling. Like Phil and I recently, a couple of weeks ago, went and watched Ad Astra, right?
Oh yeah,
and
Brad Pitt,
that Brad Pitt movie.
astronaut.
Oh,
The astronaut.
Okay.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
like,
it was a pretty
good?
powerful
I was
message.
I don't know, like, just watching it, I felt like I was living it. Like, I really was engaged in it, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about that movie because it gave me this feeling like if I were in space, this is what it would feel like.
Oh yeah, I remember
Like,
your reaction to it. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, this feels like it's very real.
Yeah.
Like
If you haven't seen it, definitely. Yeah.
No.
I would
I wanna go
highly
see it.
I wrote a
recommend
poem
watching
after
Ad
watching
Astra.
the movie. That's how much it impacted me. I rarely write. When I write, it's like usually because there's like something big that happened in my life.
So for me, that is like what my connection to other lives is.
That's how you
Because
experience.
the same thing for I just went and watched this week. I went and watched this Korean film called Parasite, and it gave me that same feeling just watching these families engage with each other, and I just felt like I was in that house, like
I mean, that's,
I was in that storm, and
Joseph Campbell talks.
It's weird
He
how-
talks
how-
about the power of myth and how it's carried through humanity alone. Just there are archetypes. The wise wizard. The going into the cave and coming out. All those things. All the movies we watch with all the heroes that we love. They're all the same stories, and we've been telling them since Homer's Odyssey and all. Like, I mean, it's all the same thing. And these myths, these are archetypes. These are the lessons that we're currently living. And some of us we ourselves have to become the heroes who find the powers within ourselves to overcome the odds and save the world. And until we really do that, chances are we'll keep coming back here. Yeah.
Shit.
Nice.
God
I think
damn.
with that, we hit the soapbox.
We did. That's a good way to segue into the next portion of it. All right, Uncle Mark. So this is our soapbox section. Basically, you get a chance to speak on whatever you want, touch on any subject you want, shout anything out, promote, endorse, whatever you want. You get the floor for as long as
your
you want.
reward for coming to the show.
Yeah, your reward for coming
Wow.
out to the show. You get the floor for as long as you need to. No one will interrupt you, and just feel free to express whatever you want.
It can be
As
short
long
and
as you
sweet.
want. It could be short
whatever,
and sweet.
yeah.
It could be long and extended. Because
Wow. Never thought about
Think
this.
of it as your broadcast to the universe.
exactly.
Broadcast to the universe. Wow. Well, first off, I'm really happy to be here. This is very cool. So thank you, gentlemen. It's been real. Wow. I guess as I'm getting older, I look back a lot at, my life and a lot of the events that have transpired. I think one of them would go back to the year they landed on the moon. And I think it was, I don't know how many weeks after that, Nixon was at the Century Plaza Hotel. And we lived maybe 10 minutes from there. So I remember me and my buddies, we thought we'd take a walk over there and just see what was going on.
Yeah.
And as we got closer, we saw all the police with the clubs and their helmets and everything. And then as we got closer, all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. Something must have gone down because their shields came down, their clubs went up, and they started whacking people. And we turned around and we ran and never looked back. So I guess I look back at just that was one of those events, because he was eventually impeached and he eventually resigned and he left. And, so I don't know. I look back on my life and I'm just sitting here looking at you guys, and you guys have your life in front of you, this podcast. And I don't know. I mean, I've got a million things on my mind. I could sit here all day. I love telling stories. I love sharing my life. It's been really interesting. But getting older does have a lot of effect on you. You think about a lot of things, and I look back at just all the things that have transpired, and I look at the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the music, the people, concerts, places. I mean, I went to a great story. I went to a concert. It was in 1980. I was preparing for my first high school reunion, which, by the way, my 50th high school reunion is coming up next summer in June. Imagine, you guys aren't even that old, haven't been around that long. And here I'm going to be going to my 50th reunion. And so this was 1980, and I was working at this jeans warehouse. This is a great story. I was working at this jeans warehouse called McKean, France. It was on La Cienega Boulevard before the Beverly Center. Wow. There was a Fat Burger on the corner. On the other corner, there was this place called the Climax. I think it's not there anymore. It was a club. Actually, when we graduated high school, we rented it out for the night. We got there at 11 o'clock. We rented it out till 6 in the morning. They had one room with pillows, one room with backgammon, one room with movies. It was a trip. It was just that time. So I'm working at this jeans store, and right next door was a casting agency. And so every now and then you'd see a bunch of blondes walk by, a bunch of tall people, short people, just whatever they were looking for that particular moment. I met Tina Turner as she came by. I met Paul McCartney as he was coming by. And we had all these people that would come there because this was a very popular jean. This was probably the most popular jean around. There was Jordache, there was Sassoon, and then there was these McKean France jeans. And we used to get tickets to concerts. We'd have people come in there, roll up in limousines, bring us Coke, come in to buy clothes. We had women that came in, would give us, we had sex. We had all kinds of crazy shit going on at this place. We had this one girl that would come by almost on an every other day basis. And me and my friend would have threesomes with her. And it was just wild. And so we got tickets to go see the Eagles at the Forum. And so we had tickets, and they also brought us a whole bunch of, another time that someone came in, they brought us a bunch of Queen albums, and they were going to get us tickets for Queen, but I'd already seen them, that wasn't really that interesting. But the story goes, so we go to the concert, me and my buddy, and he loves to drink and I love to get high. So we were doing our thing. At some point he disappears. He got so smashed, I never found him the rest of the night. I leave and I'm looking all over the parking lot, can't find him. Then I run into some friends of mine who worked for Mariani Bus. Yeah, the same Jerry Bus, Mariani Bus, that was his partner. And I played softball with them. and we were in a league together for about a year. And they said, you want to come into the Forum Club? I've got some passes and I'll give you my pass. So he gives me his pass. I slap it on my shirt. I go in the Forum Club. I have 2 other passes that I also put on. So I met these 2 girls and I said, you guys want to come join me? And they said, sure. So I put the passes on and we go inside. We have a drink or 2. We're hanging out. And then they said, so you want to go hang out somewhere? And I said, sure, let's do it. Let's go hang out. So we're driving and they're following me in their car. And I got one of them with me and she's got her friend and some other guy in the other car. And we're hanging out and we're leaving the Forum. And then I said, so what do you guys want to do? And they said, I don't know. And I said, well, I've got some more acid at the house. I've got some weed. We can go pick it up and then we can go party. Cool. So they all follow me over to the house. I get all my stuff. Then we stop and get some beer. And then we get on the freeway and we're heading back towards, I'm not sure, I don't remember where we were going, but we're driving about 65, 70 miles an hour on the freeway, passing beers through the car windows. We're getting really close to each other and we're passing beers, we're drinking beer, and I'm still high, they're still high. We get to the next destination and one girl parks her car, she gets out and the other girl's in my car ready. She jumps in, she goes, let's go, we're ditching him. I go, okay. So we ditch him and we end up driving another 20 minutes. And they said, okay, let's just stop here. You want to go jacuzzi? I said, sure. So now it's about 2:00 in the morning. Get out of the car and we park and we walk inside this complex and we go and here's this jacuzzi and they're taking all their clothes off. So I took all my clothes off and got in the jacuzzi. And sometime around, I don't know, 5:36 in the morning, as the sun's starting to come up, some guy comes over and he says, can I help you guys? You guys look like you'd use some towels. And I look at these girls and I don't even know their names. I don't even remember we were introduced. All I know is we just had this crazy night in this jacuzzi. We had taken acid, we'd smoked, we were just like fried. And I said, so who is this guy? I have no idea. And the guy gives us towels, says, come up to my place to dry off, get dressed. I said, okay, this is too weird. I got up there, I looked around, I sized up the situation, I'm out of here. I got dressed. I didn't even ask for their phone numbers, left and went home.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's like part of the day.
That was just a day in your life.
That was just a day in the life. And I've had, and then I had another situation where I had this guy that we did a lot of business with. We probably did $100,000 a year business with him. And he invites me over and tells me, oh, I've got this present for you. And he had this big warehouse. And inside he had built like a 2-bedroom suite with living room, dining room, kitchen, bathroom, beds, everything. And we sitting in there and he says, okay, I'll be back. And he said, you can help yourself. And there's a bowl on the table of cocaine. And he says, your present will be here in about 10 minutes. And next thing I know, these 2 beautiful hookers show up. And the next thing I know, for the next couple hours, I'm hanging out with these girls and we're just, having this great time. And then we left and then we went to Perino's, which is an old restaurant, which is so many restaurants.
Italian?
Italian? It was on Wilshire Boulevard in mid-Wilshire near Bullock's Wilshire. Okay. Very fancy restaurant. We went there and he joined us. He came back and the 4 of us went to dinner. Then we went back and spent another 3 hours together. And he says, pick which one you want. You can have whatever one you want and I'll take the other one. And that ended. But,
you've lived.
I've lived. My life is crazy. I've traveled. Even when I was in Berlin, I met some girl in Berlin and we were right in the elevator and we shut the elevator off and 2:00 in the morning and we're having all this crazy time in the elevator and
your life, man.
and then she tells me I'm flying. This is really good. She's telling me I'm flying to London. You want to come with? So I went back to the hotel and told my dad I want to go to London. And he goes, okay, well, I've got some other things to take care of. You go to London, I'll meet you there and then we'll leave from there. It's okay, fine. So I went back to London, spent a couple of days with her and her family. And then the day we were supposed to leave, we postponed till the next day. Well, the plane that I was supposed to be on was the Pan Am flight in 1970, and that was the one that got hijacked. So I missed that by a day.
Damn.
We missed that particular flight. So my life's been gifted in some ways. I've had incidents where I've been like on the freeway, and I'm driving on the 405 freeway, and all of a sudden, a car's in front of me, count to 3, 1, 2, 3, right in front of me. And right off the end of the freeway, and I missed it by like a 1,000, 2,000. I would have hit that car twice in 1 year. Same freeway, 2 different events.
Wow.
So, in some ways, my life's been gifted. In some ways, I've had, some amazing experiences. I've had a chance to travel. Growing up in the 60s, I got to see, amazing things. And then going through the 70s, having been married a couple times, kids, had my own business. I've had 5 careers. I've done a lot of interesting things, and it's been a real life. It's been a real.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So
you encourage people to get as much out of it as they can.
I say live each day to the fullest. I say sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. Sometimes you do things that maybe you're not so sure of. But I say taking risks is probably a good thing. You guys are taking a risk with this, and it's going places.
Yeah.
But you didn't know where it was going to go from the first show.
Right.
They didn't have me yet. That's why.
Now you missed me. See, now that I'm here, now everything's going to just take off.
Yeah.
Well, Kenny, we want to let you know.
I knew it. You're gonna lay me off? Is that it? Do I get unemployment?
Wow.
Nah, we're not throwing you under the bus. We're going to run you over.
And as usual, eventually we all turn on Keenan.
They always do. There hasn't been
Every
one
guest.
guest yet that's on my side.
No, I would never try to hit you. You guys have been great. You guys have been gracious. Huh?
Thanks,
you guys,
Mark.
you guys
Thank you so
you guys are the
much.
shit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
I
you.
hope you had a
Yeah.
great first experience. with the
No,
pod.
this has been amazing. I've never done this before. So, and I sit here, and as I'm talking, I am a great storyteller. I mean, I've had so many experiences. I could probably write a book.
Yeah,
You should.
You should.
I
You
mean,
really should.
when I was working in real estate, when I was working at the bank, and this is another fun story. We had this one guy that was apparently working from a church, and he'd already done about 16 months in jail, and he was taking foreclosed houses. He was coming in from the back door, fixing them up, making keys, and then renting them, and he was selling them, and he was doing all kinds of scandalous shit. He was wanted by the FBI. My boss would tell me stories about what he knew of this guy, and he ended up moving into a house in Baldwin Hills. He just took over a house that was foreclosed and moved in, and he became our target. And so we started targeting that house, and we would go up there. We went to court to get him evicted. We did everything under the sun. Every time we'd go up there, he had these 2 guys that were, hovering around the property. I called them Goombas. They looked like these guys from Mario Brothers, these big dudes. And they were protecting the house. And at one point, we had them evicted. The police came, locked them out. 4 days later, they got right back in again, broke back in, took back possession. This went on for a while until finally we got to Santa Monica. We got to court, got them evicted, went up to the house, locked it down, called 2 moving vans, brought in a cleaning crew, moved every single piece out of the house, every one of his pictures with his family and everything.
Wow.
And ultimately, we had to hire a service to monitor the house, one of these
security
companies. And they were coming through 4 times a day, Monday through Sunday, all hours of the day, monitoring to make sure this guy was not going to come back and take back his house.
Right.
Ultimately, I got a call from the FBI. They wanted me to come down. They wanted to interview me and for me to tell them everything I did and how did I catch this guy. Because technically I was the point on this. I was the one that was constantly going to the house, monitoring everything, going to the court appearances, sharing all the information I knew. And I said, no, thank you. I'm not going to the FBI. And they gave me their phone number, and I called back, and it did say, hello, this is so-and-so, the FBI. And I had some extensions to some people there. Wasn't going to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And then we had another guy who got evicted, and he broke back into his house 4 times. And eventually we had to board the whole house up because he had a cattle prod at his front door that all you had to do was plug it in, touch the doorknob, and would electrocuted you.
Oh, wow.
And when we first got in there the first time, he had 4 batteries of cameras in his bedroom with 8 on each screen. He had a little small camera at every location around the house watching me every time I came there to check out the house. Yeah. So yeah, I've had some, that was a very crazy job.
Definitely time to write a
different,
book.
different than what I had done previously.
Yeah. 5 careers. Yeah.
5 careers. So yeah, so I worked with, worked with kids, worked with addicts, worked with kids that were locked down, worked at a bank where there were crazy people. And, I'll tell you, I went this one other case and then I'll move on. But went to court. Went to court. This guy lost his house to foreclosure. He went to court. We had a court appearance. And then my attorney said to the judge, we need to have a recess. I need to do some research on something. He comes back. Then he says to the guy, this is how you just lost your house. Okay. When your house goes into foreclosure, if you just let it go And then it goes to Norwalk where they have a sale. They had a sale like every Monday. They were selling foreclosure properties back at that time. He did not take back his possession of his house till after 10 o'clock in the morning. Or no, sorry, 8 o'clock in the morning. He went to the thing and bought it at 10:15. So technically, bank went through all the right procedures, but we took possession at 8. He had possession at 10:30. He lost his house by 2.5 hours.
Damn.
Wow.
And then they came in and they trashed out his house. And then 2 months later, he came back and said he had all these valuable paintings and this, that, and the other, and it was done. So that was back to your question earlier about, or somebody asked me, was it right or wrong? Were they doing the right thing or the wrong thing? I was on the right side, but they were doing all the wrong things.
Yeah.
And we went to people's houses and there was still food on the stove as they were exiting out because we were coming for the sheriff lockout.
Oh,
and I must have been on 50 sheriff lockouts.
Damn.
And just, amazing shit. And I don't know, I must have been in court over 100, over more than 100 times.
Definitely write a memoir, man.
Yeah. So
you have to.
So between that whole housing thing and, working for the American Tobacco Company, which again, here's where I've left one of my marks in the world. I worked for American Tobacco and I was there for 2 weeks and we were doing training and we pulled into a parking lot. And the next thing I know, someone took their hand, smashed the rearview mirror, put a pearl-handled gun to my head and said, we're going for a ride. And my boss, who had just come here from Detroit, motor capital of America, said, I can't believe it. We're here in LA and I'm not even here 2 weeks and we're in an armed robbery. And I thought, chill. And this guy took us driving around for about 15 minutes, talking all kinds of shit. I've killed, I've murdered. What are you guys doing? What do you got in the car? Maybe you got some money. I can buy my wife a little dress. And just talking all kinds of absurd things. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I'm dying. I'm dead. My life is now over. And then at some point he said, stop the car, get out. My keys are in there. My wallet's in there. My ID is in there. My house key, everything's in there. And he took the car with, I don't know, $4,000 cash, cigarettes, and just took off. And then my boss said, oh my God. And I'm freaking out. And then after about 4 or 5 days, they called me and they said, so what are you doing? Are you staying? Are you quitting? I said, hell no, I'm not quitting. Get me another car. I'm on. So they got me a brand new car, which looked like a cop car. It was one of these Ford LTDs or something. Right. So everywhere I'd go, I would try to stop to buy drugs or pick up girls. And they'd go, no, you're a cop. No, nothing to do with you. You're a cop. And I said, I'm not a cop. You're a cop. Yeah. And I stayed with them for another year plus until I finally exited and went into another career. So yeah, every phase of my life, all the jobs I've had something memorable.
That's
something
great,
really intriguing. And yes, I thought about writing a memoir or some kind of book because it would be quite interesting.
Absolutely.
It's very, very reminiscent of the life of Frank Abagnale, really.
Okay.
Who had basically become
the con artist.
Yeah, the con artist, except for you were just living your life.
Yeah. Just living my life.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Uncle Mark. That's you definitely took the soapbox to another level on that one.
That's good, man.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Don't know how to follow that one.
I know. Now Keenan's got to follow you.
All right, Keenan, now you say something interesting.
YOLO. Yeah.
You want me to go or you need more time?
No, I had nothing prepared for my soapbox.
Oh,
so
okay. This is the first.
I would just let people know there may or may not be a New Year's Eve bash party concert thing I might throw on. Hopefully me and Philly will get together and maybe plan something like that out.
Oh, cool.
Whether or not that will coincide with like a NOOB blowout concert thing, which could happen. I don't know if Joe's up for that, but hearing the great stories that you have, I would definitely tell people to go out and adventure Los Angeles and not stay in the house. There's plenty of concerts and shows and things to see and do. I mean, we still have apparently roller skating rings and ice skating rinks here in the
A few.
LA County area, not so much just downtown. There's go to Long Beach, go to Santa Barbara if you have to, North Hollywood. There's even places to visit out in East LA and Downey and all that other stuff. So venture out in LA and do something that doesn't involve a digital screen. So that's my soapbox.
Hey, thank you. Short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you.
Damn, kid, that's definitely a different take on soapboxes. That's kind of cool, man.
Live a real life.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Filthy animal.
Yo,
We've come to you.
again, definitely inspired by the breadth of experience that Uncle Mark came through with, and a lot like Keenan. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely made me feel like I should be living more of a life as someone who has essentially done nothing but work and have this ambition that's like this vague ambition to become something and leave some kind of mark, which is probably pretty archetypical of a millennial per se. I want to make an impact and this and that. I think the moral of the that I can take away from today of the story is, the way you make an impact is just by living your life, but like really living a life, and so I'm gonna follow that same train and say, if you really can get involved and do things, because I spend a lot of time just working on projects, and I'm beginning to suspect that maybe while that is great and I do have a trajectory, it may also be away from keeping myself of actually living.
You want to leave your legacy, and you're young, so you have an opportunity to live things, do things, get out there. Nothing wrong with what you're doing, but I think that we also need to get out there and interact in the world. And, when you get to that final place, you want to know you've left a legacy. People remember you for whatever that looks like. Multiple things, one major thing, many small things, but you want to leave a legacy. And
I'm with that.
That's something that I know for sure now. And I'm heading close to my 70s, so I know I've left a legacy. I've left it in so many different things. Every career I've been in, there's been something. And I was going to leave you with this, was the last time when I was working with American Tobacco, and after I left, I ran into somebody who was working my territory until they found somebody to replace me. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know what it is, what you did or what you say, but people remember you. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, I covered your route for almost 2 months. And everywhere I went, every store, every place I talked, everyone I talked to, always wanted to know, where'd Mark go? Such a nice guy. He was a pleasant person. He was professional. We really enjoyed him. We miss him. And we just were curious what happened to him. And that happened multiple times. And so I know even in something small like that, I've left some kind of a legacy.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. You can work hard. You can aim for, all kinds of lofty goals and, do all these things. But at the same time, don't lose sight of the real world as well. And you do need to get out and you do need to interact and, be with people and do something to better the world. And when you do something to better the world, you left some kind of a legacy.
There it is,
Man.
man.
And if you ever read anything on psychology, and I'm trying to think who this guy, Erickson, I believe.
Yeah.
He said Freud only went up to 13 in his stages of life, but Erickson went all the way till you die. And the final one he had, and I don't remember exactly how it's stated, but it basically is, what did you leave behind? What's your legacy? It's not like laying in bed and going, coulda, shoulda, woulda. You need to know you did something and people are going to remember you, even if it's this podcast. And someday it's like, number one in the world. And everyone goes, oh, I know Phil and I know this guy and I know CNN and I know, everybody.
Yeah.
And your podcast made a mark somewhere and people remember you for it. So whatever that looks like, go for it. Don't be afraid. Sometimes you got to take a leap of faith. Just do it. But don't lose sight of your goals as well.
That's the second part of
my soapbox.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Soapbox.
I'm not going to bend over. At the prison joke. No, I'm just playing.
Never been to prison. No.
Neither have I, but I've seen enough jokes on this.
Yeah.
my soapbox. I'm gonna keep it simple as hell. I was at the LA Comic Con this weekend with the family. Had a lot of fun. This is Gavin's 4th year doing Comic-Con, his 4th year dressing up, and like I really enjoy being able to share that moment with my son, like doing something that we both like to do, and actually that he loves to do a little more than I do. And just him just being able to walk around, you know, people come up to him and say, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" And, you know, and vice versa. He'll see someone who he really likes and they take pictures together. And it's just been, it's been an experience for me, like growing up and, you know, a lot, mostly growing up, I did it alone or, you know, with like you, Phil, and or my siblings, but not so much my siblings, but I did a lot with friends, and I did a lot of things with people my age. So, you know, being able to experience something like this, where I'm actually a father and raising my son to have like ideals that I kind of follow, but also giving him the room to figure himself out as well, has been a surreal experience. So I'm glad I've been able to do that, and I hope to be able to continue to like to teach him more or find out new things that he's discovering as well, you know. So yeah, fatherhood is pretty cool, you know. As of right now, I can say that fatherhood is pretty cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
Has its ups and downs, though.
Yeah, I haven't experienced the downs so much yet, so let me live in this moment of the market.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. I mean, you know, I'm looking. I'm hoping to. You all right there, Keenan?
I've been sitting in this chair for so long. My ass.
Keenan has the body of an 80-year-old man.
I don't know if my ass still functions.
And with that, we have reached the conclusion of episode 47 of the None of Our Business podcast. We want to thank Mark Brown for coming out and enjoying this fine episode.
That's a new one.
Hope you enjoy this beautiful episode. Scott.
I think they planned this before I got here. Eat your woman out.
Suck your man's dick.
Vote for me for president.
I'm speechless.
First time all episode.
Love you.